only one... Here, let me get started and then I'll... Okay, guys, we're going to start this run in 3, 2, 1, go. So, welcome, everyone. As I was saying about the bomb RNG, there's really only one major RNG-dependent spot in the run, and it's in about 20 minutes. It's about 20 minutes in. So, we'll explain more when we get to it, but for now, just sit back and enjoy this amazing cinematic cutscene.
Yeah.
I am HyrulianKnight. I typically do glitchless speedruns on my channel. Always, I mean, I play Majora's Mask. I am currently doing any percent glitchless. Yeah, so let's do this. You started after you already said go. Oh, my bad. No, maybe there's a delay, but I definitely hit go right away. Anyway, Trev, do you got anything to say coming into the start of the run?
Yeah, I was just gonna maybe touch on, like, most MM runs, they're typically plagued by this intro. Depending on the category, it's different lengths, but it's usually gonna be around 20 minutes, and like every MM category has to deal with this intro. It's just something with the game. There's no really, not even in a glitch category is there a way to circumvent this intro, unfortunately. But there are a couple interesting things to talk about, well, that we can once we get there. But for the most part, at least, especially at the beginning, it's going to be a lot of cutscenes where the player doesn't even have control. And then even once the cutscenes are over, there will be some gameplay, but it's still going to technically be the intro. We call it first cycle because it's the first 3-day cycle where you are. We'll be seeing why we're locked into like we're confined in a very small part of the game world in the very beginning of the game, and we'll get into that when we get there. But maybe you could explain the rules of any percent glitchless in this game.
Yeah, so any percent glitchless. Obviously, glitchless is, you know, I don't want to use, I mean, I'll use the word arbitrary. Glitchless is defined by any community for that particular game. And for Majora's Mask glitchless, it's a pretty solid definition in my opinion. We have typical stuff, you know, banned like you would expect. Like, you know, bomb hovering and, you know, infinite sword glitch, stuff like that. One notable thing that we do allow in glitchless any percent, or there are two notable things that we allow that are, I guess, a little bit iffy. One being gainers, and when we do our first gainer, we can explain the mechanics behind it and why we feel like it's, why it's been decided to be, you know, allowed. And then the second thing that is allowed is called power crouch stab. Again, we'll explain what that is more later, but those are two really, I guess, iffy techniques that are allowed. And to quote Trev Person, who is on with me, the glitchless definition that the Majora's Mask community likes to use is using intended mechanics in unintended ways. So pretty much we're going to be using the, you know, anything that's an intended mechanic. Like, for instance, when you become Goron Link later, and you can, when you do a Goron pound, if you let go of the pound, so Goron Link is invincible when you're doing a Goron pound. But if you let go of the pound once you're in midair and then you take damage, you'll have a little bit of knockback and you'll fly, and that can be used to jump over fences, that can be used to get up on higher ledges. And due to the nature that Goron Link isn't, you know, supposed to have knockback damage when he's in the air like that, that's why using it is allowed in glitchless, and we'll be using that to skip quite a bit, particularly in Snowhead Temple. Do you have anything to add on that?
I mean, I guess most people are familiar with using damage boosts to, like, enter Great Bay early, and you can do stuff like that in this run. Knight will not be in the route he's using, it's just simply not faster. but
Hmm.
people are generally familiar with damage boost. Like, I think that's the most popularized use of a damage boost. Like, a lot of people are aware of that one. It's just stuff like that. Sometimes it's a lot smaller skips, let you skip maybe rooms in a temple, or, but it all adds up, and it's going to be important to manage bomb count throughout the run. You're going to need quite a few RNG drops. You're going to mostly need one at the early game, but if you don't get some in the mid game, you can potentially not have enough for well. And that just causes like sidetracking, maybe for like the guaranteed drop. It usually doesn't. It's very uncommon.
Yeah, just to add on something right there, one thing that's really cool about, or I guess convenient about Majora's Mask, is that there are a lot of pots in the game that have set drops. No matter what, anytime you enter that room, it will always have a bomb, arrow, magic, etc. So there's one point in the game where at the very start, and we'll be talking a little bit more about it when we get there, but we'll be needing to get one bomb drop when we come out of Clock Town at the start of the run here. We need to get that bomb drop, or we're in trouble. I guess I'll just keep trying until I get a bomb. Will be my backup. But there's a spot later in the game to be marathon safe. There's a cave that has guaranteed bomb drops in it, and to make sure that I have enough bombs for late game, I'm just gonna go ahead and fill up completely in that cave. But Trev is right. Bomb count is pretty important in this run, especially when in order to get the mirror shield later, you have to give away 10 bombs. There's no way around that in glitchless. So right here at the start of this run, if you are unfamiliar with Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Link goes through the woods there, he gets his horse and ocarina stolen, he follows the thief, Skull Kid, and falls down there, and then gets turned into Deku Link. And right now, the areas that we're going through, we are making our way into Clock Town, which is actually, this tunnel right here is taking us into Clock Town, where we will begin the dreaded first cycle that Trev was talking about earlier. Like, it's not bad, it's another 15 more minutes of really uninteresting gameplay.
Yeah, if you've never seen it before, you're not going to be bothered by it too much, but people who like watch speedruns of this game a lot, and especially the runners themselves who play this game, really just don't like this segment. It's really not that bad if like you've never seen an MM run before. You're still going to find things to watch in it, but it definitely is like the least gameplay centric portion of the run, and there's like the least amount of stuff going on. It's all very easy. So like it's just a combination of things that makes it very boring for the runner in particular.
Totally. First cycle is very cool. It's a very cool concept for if you've never played this game before, or even if you have, if you're just playing it casually, first cycle can be a really fun time. But doing it over and over and over, it's at the start of the run in every single category. There's no way to skip it. So, Majora's Mask is built around a 3-day clock. So there are 72 in-game hours. Each in-game hour equates to about 45 minutes, or 45 seconds of real time. During first cycle, though, that is a little, that's sped up to, is it half, I think?
I don't know the exact ratio, actually. Yeah, but it's like a little bit over 30 seconds, I think, actually. So I don't know. It's I think it's 5/3, so it's nearly double time. I believe the ratio is 5/3. I believe that's correct. So normally, yeah, the ratio you gave is correct. It's actually 45.5 seconds to an in-game hour, and then it's 5/3 faster in terms of speed on first cycle.
Yeah, so to escape first cycle, we need to get the ocarina back from Skull Kid, who stole it, and play the Song of Time to save the game and get out of first cycle. And the way to do that is we need to get magic during first cycle so that we can shoot the ocarina out of his hand. And we also need to get to midnight on the final night. So midnight on night 3. So we just came into this inn here and spoke to the grandma. And she told us 2 stories. And the 2 stories passed an entire day. So it is now currently day 3. And now I'm heading over to the other part of Clocktown in order to speak to a scarecrow who is going to pass the time from day 3 to night 3. And then from then, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. We are doomed to just sit here and wait till midnight. But there are a couple things that we are going to do. A couple things that we need to get done on night 3 here before midnight. Most notably being getting magic. And we also want to get enough money to buy the bomb bag, so that right away out at the start of Cycle 2, we can begin to pick up bombs. We will still end up with about 3 in-game hours to spare, and we'll just stare at the wall until we get there.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to speed up time any further past this point. It is final night, and that is as far as you can advance it. Again, in-game time, thankfully, on first cycle, does advance faster than normal, and the game just detects it being first cycle. Like, if you don't have your Ocarina in inventory, the game is kind of in a first cycle state, so time is moving a lot faster right now than it would normally. You can see the clock at the bottom and how fast it's scrolling. It's still going to scroll pretty fast once we're out of first cycle. But it's not quite that fast. So it does actually at least make the segment a little bit more bearable by making it shorter.
Yeah, and another, I guess, thing to note is that because we are going to have extra in-game time, the gameplay in the... oh, I bit my tongue. The gameplay in this section doesn't really matter. So, like, as long as I get magic, buy the bomb bag, and get to the clock tower before midnight, I'm not going to lose any time. I mean, assuming my text box mashing is, I mean,
yeah,
fine.
There's something in this game, I just refer to it as in-game time segments. It's more common in, like, categories that, like, either get the masks or, like, in 100% categories where they have to meet, like, all these in-game time events where, like, certain things in the game happen at certain times. But, right now, like Knight said, there's nothing he can do to end this set portion of the game until it has struck midnight. And while he is completing things during this time that he needs to do, like getting magic right now, that do need to happen for you to progress, it's not going to fill up the full time all the way to midnight. And so that all that means is that, like, he could actually just, like, walk around and basically do nothing and not lose any time, which is a rather unfortunate... Like, it's just another reason. Like, you're, like, this segment, you're not stressed at all to complete anything quickly. Your movement doesn't matter, and it just amounts to, like, what makes this segment so boring for runners, right? Because until you're out of it, nothing... Like, once you make it night 3, that's it. Like, you're just waiting for midnight. So, like, your movement up to making it night 3 matters, because you want to make it night 3 as fast as possible. But then, like, right now, like, Hyrulian could just, like, walk to the exit, not spin, not do anything faster, and it wouldn't matter. He wouldn't lose any time.
Oh, another thing to note is that you'll see me, I did it right there, and you'll see me do it a lot throughout the run, but backwalking is much faster than front walking. Trev, what's the actual ratio there? I know it's different for the different
I believe backwalking as Deku has a speed of 9, and let me double check this. I forget Deku's forward walking speed. So all of the mass transformations, there's more than just Deku, but compared to Link's normal human form, actually all of the mass transformations actually walk and backwalk faster than regular human. I believe.
Which, one thing to note with that is the bunny hood, which is the mask in the game that lets you run faster, is actually only the same speed as backwalking as human. It just has faster acceleration. Okay, so right here, I want to show off something cool. So, now we need to get up here. Normally what you do is you, like, if you were playing this game for the first time, you would do a side quest to get an item to activate that yellow Deku flower down there so you could fly up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a gainer. So I'm going to backflip and grab this ledge. But I want to showcase another thing that you can just try at home, which is really cool. So if you stand in this corner, and then line up the cursor right there, so it lines up right there. Do a backflip, and when you do the backflip, hold down left. You'll just get up here. So there are many ways to get up on the clock tower, and it's there are many ways to get up on the clock tower to skip doing it the intended way, and it's, you know,
here's what
cool.
you target the door, then turn around and target, and then turn around again, but don't target. So like get the camera facing South Clocktown, and then just face the camera as Link. So target the door, and then turn it 90 or 180 degrees and target, and then just turn Link around and face the camera. So there you go.
I did it.
I did it. View of
I did it.
Giant eyes. Not for very.
I typically just look at the door for some very minuscule lag reduction, which I'm sure exists.
There's less lag on VC. South Clocktown is traditionally like very laggy in like all the versions though, and it does lag sometimes in VC.
I used to play on N60. Oh yeah, one thing to note is I am playing on the Wii Virtual Console. With the reason for this being that the Wii Virtual Console is the fastest official version of the game. I could also be playing on the N64 that this game was originally released on, and I used to actually. I used to play on. Yeah, I used to play on an N64 until about October, maybe, I don't know. And the reason why VC is faster than N64, it's the same version of the game, but the Wii Virtual Console version of the game just has less version. Whoa, what was that? I don't know what I just heard.
The Wii Virtual Console version has a little bit faster load times than the N64 version. It also lags less in most areas. There are actually a few areas where the game lags more than the N64 original, which is very awkward. Like, I think the best example is his Great Bay Temple. Great Bay Temple actually lags more than the N64 original, but for the most part, you're going to see that. The game is fairly lagless. The N64 original of this game actually is pretty bad in terms of lag, like much more so than like N64 Ocarina of Time, for example. And it's because it's like it used the expansion pack that came out for the N64, but even then the game kind of pushed the hardware to its limits a little bit more than it could handle, and so it had some lag issues, especially with many actors on screen. But
yeah, over the course of this run, playing on the Wii rather than the N64, I save about 2.5 to 3 minutes. That's an estimation, but it's somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes saved in this category.
Yep. Besides the those two versions, N64 and Wii Virtual Console, there are two other big versions, and they are GameCube and Wii U VC. And like, I get a lot of questions when I play, like, why don't you play on Wii U VC? It's newer, it's on even better hardware. You'd think maybe it's even better. But the Wii U Virtual Console version is actually one of the worst versions you could possibly speedrun this game on. It has even less lag than the Wii Virtual Console, which seems good. But it loses so much time to every load zone. It's crazy. Every single load in the game is slower, basically. And by a substantial amount that any additional lag reduced isn't even close to worth it. Like, it gets beat out so bad. Like, you lose minutes to all this loading that occurs in the Wii U Virtual Console version. It's just not good. And then the GameCube version makes a really good paperweight, and it's about it. It runs at...
The GameCube version just notoriously crashes. It is notorious for crashing.
It's got a lot of glitches. It's very poor emulation. The GameCube version is actually just awful. It has audio glitches. It has additional crashes. It has... It doesn't even work properly, like, to compare to a lot of versions. Like, you kind of need a background in glitches for me to give you an example. But, like, let's just say that there are, like, glitch differences on the Japanese and the English versions of the game, and GameCube, like, seems to pull from both a little bit. It's really weird. It's really poor emulation. The game doesn't even run in its full frame rate. So right now, you might not know this, but this game actually runs at 20 FPS visually. And the GameCube version can't even handle that. It doesn't run at 20. It runs at like somewhere between 16 and 18 or something. It's just really, really bad. Can't run at full speed.
So, yeah, I mean, the GameCube version just kind of sucks.
Yeah, actually, Seedborn bought a
honest.
copy to do some glitch testing. He's like a scientist within the game who looks for glitches and whatnot. And Seedborn bought a copy of the GameCube version to look for GameCube's exclusive glitches. And in his very first session playing with the GameCube version, it soft locked on him, playing Song of Soaring. He just played a song, and the game didn't properly execute it. It just soft locked. Couldn't do anything.
And that is not abnormal for the GameCube version of the game. One thing I want to note right before... So now we're out of first cycle. We got the ocarina. We played Song of Time to save and return to the Dawn of First Day. I actually reset the console right there. And the reason for that is after I saved and there is a lengthy cutscene that plays there. But if you reset, you skip that cutscene, and that is allowed in glitchless. And then the other thing I want to note is right before I entered the clock tower, I played the inverted Song of Time, which turns an in-game hour from 45 seconds to about 2.5 minutes. It multiplies by 3, so I guess it's actually 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And the purpose of this is there's some stuff I need to get done. Most notably, if you are familiar with the game, I need to acquire Epona and Garo Mask before the night of First Day. And actually, normally I would not invert right away to let a little time pass, but because this is a marathon, and yeah, I just inverted right away, and it doesn't actually matter because I can compensate for that later, but I inverted earlier just to be on the safe side. So now we're watching this cutscene, and when we come out of this cutscene, we will be Human Link, and then we're going to hit the Clocktown Owl statue, which makes it so that we can warp back here and warp back to Clocktown, and then we are going to be exiting Clocktown, and we need to get a bomb drop. We need to get a bomb drop from the first set of or from bushes. I guess it doesn't have to be the first set, but if we don't get a bomb drop, I will just keep reloading the area until I get a bomb drop. There are, I think, 11 bushes in a patch of bushes, and nobody knows for sure the probability to get a bomb drop, but it's about 10%. So I guess with 11 bushes in a patch, 10% chance on each bush, we hopefully will get first try bombs.
Yeah, and these bomb drops are going to be used for a couple of damage boosts a little bit later in the run, so they do save substantial time. Like, even if you get non-optimal luck, it's still worth it to go for them, because they do save a lot of time. You have to get pretty bad luck for them not to be worth it. And, like, generally in a run, if you get that bad luck, you just reset. But even in a marathon where, like, it's very unlikely getting these bombs isn't worth it, and allows you to showcase the way this area is gonna, like, Deku Palace is gonna be done.
Okay, so yeah, so it's about 11 Dampe tries basically. Should be fine.
Not quite that slow.
Okay, so yeah, it's much faster though. Okay, so I'm gonna turn Deku here. We need to be Deku later, and Deku has faster movement, so I'm gonna turn Deku now. And now let's hope we get a bomb drop right away.
Right after he gets that bomb drop, we get more cutscenes. We're gonna have to watch another cutscene that only Glitchless, unfortunately, has to watch. Glitch categories can skip the upcoming cutscenes, but in Glitchless, there's really no way around it, unfortunately. It's the only way to enter the swamp, so it's just...
So we did not get first or second try, but we did get a bomb in the third set of bushes, which I guess
that's pretty... Like, anything worse than third try loses a lot more time, because at that point, after third try, you have to enter the load zone going to an area called Milk Road, and that's just so that when you come back and determine a field, all the bushes are back. And at that point, you've lost a lot more time because you've just had to go 2 additional load zones plus a bunch of movement. You're going farther and farther away from where you actually need to go because like you check the bushes right by where you need to go first so that you can just go there. But if you keep getting bad luck, you have to keep going further and further from the swamp, which is where you want to go to get this bomb drop. But
what do you, Trev? What do you think? Yeah. So what do you think of dropping into the swamp gossip grotto there to reload the area? Because there's a patch right by there instead of going to Milk
the only
Road.
advantage of going to Milk Road would be that it gives you like it's better if you want to go for that bush set right near Milk Road, honestly. A little bit. The grotto has like additional load time compared to that. It takes, I think, longer because of the animation of the grotto. I have not timed it, but
okay. Yeah, I mean, I am currently 7th place in the category. Trev Person is actually 2nd place in the category, although I am going to bop him soon. I know it. But I am, you know, I feel very confident in, I keep having 250 paced runs. After 250, sub 250 is soon. And then after that, then the last 2 minutes are going to be hard to bring down, but...
I have some very specific criticism for you already after this run. You're gonna get it.
Oh, no.
Nah.
No, for real, though. Like, I mean, you can take notes and let me know. But yeah, I mean, even at my level, I would reset for... I would probably reset for for worse than 3rd try bombs. It's just... anything worse than that and you lose 40-ish seconds or to getting 1st try bombs, and
Alright. Good news, all the cutscenes are over though. So that was the last substantial cutscene for quite a while. There are gonna be obviously more. The game isn't just completely cutsceneless from this point on, but like this is really like the real point where the run starts. We're through the intro. Through all of first cycle, we now have the Deku Mask, so we can transform freely back and forth between that Deku form that we were stuck in first cycle, and so he can leave Clocktown. And the very first thing this run wants to do is it actually wants to complete the 2nd dungeon. Technically, it wants to complete Snowhead right away. That's like the biggest priority, and that's so that you can get Epona Song, because Epona Song is only available on first day. So, it's very imperative that you complete Snowhead and get access to an item called Powder Keg. But in order to get that, it's going to result in all this other stuff first, like we're in the swamp right now, not anywhere near Snowhead. You can't really get into Snowhead without the boat. Hey, he's here. He's currently going through a little mini side quest that's progressed through the area, going up to talk to. You may actually notice he's left one of his C buttons blank here. That is intentional because what this side quest entails is he needs to talk to this witch once, which sets like a flag, like you now know that she is injured. Skull Kid, the main antagonist of the game, who we met earlier, injured her, and she can't get out. She can't move. So, but her sister over here actually runs a potion shop, and when you tell her that her sister is injured, you're going to get a red potion that you need to then bring to her. And the reason the blank C button is actually relevant is that if you have a blank C button when you talk to her the first time, like all you need to do is talk to her and then leave. But you can either press B to cancel that menu once you've talked to her, or you can mash the blank C button, which will just make her yell at you because you don't have her, like, you're not giving her anything. That C button is blank. So it's just like a small optimization. It lets you get out of that text box sooner. You also don't really need anything equipped there at that point anyway. Like, you could equip bombs earlier, but you don't need them until Deku Palace, which is coming up.
But the reason I didn't equip bombs when I equipped potion there is because the next 3 items I'm gonna need are bombs, Deku Mask, Ocarina. So it would be an extra equip anyway. Like, if I were to have equipped bombs with the bottle, I would have had to equip over Ocarina or Deku Mask, and I mean, that still would have been an extra equip. So Early good bottle.
Yep, and now that he has healed the witch, she has the Drink the Red Potion, she's fine now. She's going to return to the Tor House, which was a building that was visible right when Hyrulian got to the swamp. And her role in this game is her sister runs the potion shop. She runs a tour service in the swamp, where you can ride a tour boat around the swamp and get to the other side if you would so like. And so now he's going to be able to take advantage of that to progress, because the only other way that you can get to the palace, which is on the other side of the swamp from here, is through, there are a couple load zones that are like holes in the wall that you could go through, but they're both guarded by a big octo, and you cannot get by those at this stage. You can kill them with like a lot of weapons in the game, like bow, Zora fins, they're like, hookshot? No.
Yeah, I don't think hookshot kills him.
But bow and Zora fins both work. And bow you actually get fairly early, but right now he has no way to kill them.
Yeah, so the front of the boat, when it goes through, the Octorok kills it. I look down here on the boat because, like I said, I used to play, you know, back early fall, I played on N64, and there was significant amounts of lag when on the boat, so looking down was a legitimate lag reduction strat for this part on N64. I don't think it's still like a big deal playing on Wii, but I still do it.
Something interesting here actually is that Link always tries to look away from the camera. If you try to get him to face it, he'll always turn away. He's a little bit camera shy, never wants to look straight at the camera. You actually can't get him to do it. He'll always turn away, and like if you try to snap it, there's only so far he can turn, but eventually if you try to pass like the center point, he'll just turn away. Very camera shy. He's shy.
So I'm gonna shut up for this part right here. Trev, you want to walk them through what I'm doing?
Deku Palace is probably one of the harder parts to run. It's a lot of cycle-based stuff, particularly with like the guards and platforms that are on a set cycle. So right here, normally you could enter the palace by talking to those guards as Deku, but putting on the Deku mask is a little bit slow, so he's actually going to get on top of that fence and backflip over their hitbox there. And right here is your first example of a damage boost. So he's going to get on top of there by backflipping with the bomb, and the bomb will hit him in midair, boost him on, and then now he's going to do another gainer. And something notable, if you've played this game before, you're not going to recognize this grotto, but it's where the bean salesman is. This grotto does not exist on the English version of this game. They changed the layout of Deku Palace on the English version of this game to be simpler, because they must have decided it was too complicated. So there are fewer grottos, and it's at a different location on the English version. Something that doesn't exist at all, actually, on the English version of the game is there's two sides of the palace. There's like east and west palace garden, and they're connected by grottos in the Japanese version of the game, whereas on the English version they are not connected at all. So you're actually going to see him use this torch right here. It's not even a gainer. He just backflips into the torch, and the torch cancels his backwards momentum to get into this grotto, and this grotto just connects the two sides. And then this right here is very important. It's you want to make like an ideal cycle here for this platform. You can actually make it to that platform as it's coming back down, and then still make it all the way to the thing.
Oh,
ooh, that's gonna make it tough to make the cycle. But
yeah, I'm not making the cycle. I didn't jump.
Got to do a little jump here from the door frame.
So right there,
and then he's gonna go for either one of the flower platforms.
Yeah, this is my backup. So that cost about 10 seconds. I didn't jump off of the... I actually had a really quick, really good damage boost over the fence there. Would have allowed me to get the first cycle really quickly. Really easily, I mean. But I had a bad jump off the post. The timing's, you know... Okay, I need to not talk. The timing is a... if you get a good damage boost, the timing is not terribly tight on that cycle, but when I backflipped up, I didn't target the wall right away, which cost me a little bit of time, so I ended up missing the jump, but that's okay.
Yeah, and the reason he's here is to get Sonata. It's just a necessary song. Well, it has a few purposes in the game, actually. Some of the dungeon entry songs don't do anything other than open or allow for access to the dungeon. But Sonata has a few uses, actually, besides just opening the dungeon. But that's something that's going to be consistent with all 4 dungeons in this game. All 4 of them, in glitchless, do require the song associated with that dungeon. All four dungeons have a song that allows you to bypass some obstacle or just let you access the dungeon, basically. Glitch categories actually have ways to bypass, technically 3 of them, but bypassing Sonata in a glitch category is not at all practical or fast, so it only bypasses 2 of them. 2 of them are very easy to bypass, actually, on a glitch category. So pretty much every glitch category that can or should does. Like 100% wouldn't, obviously, because it needs to get those songs anyway. But for the most part, you're gonna see 2 of those be skipped. But this category does need to get all 4 of them. So Sonata's gonna let Hyrulian access Woodfall, and again, that's all just so we can get the bow. The bow is necessary to access Snowhead, which is the ultimate motive here for all of this, is so that you can get through Snowhead, get the powder keg, and access the ranch before the end of the first day. Very important that he gets to the ranch at least before the end of the first day. Like, you could get Garrow Mask technically on the second day, but that's also not ideal because then you can't get into the Kana area, so that's also not good.
Yeah, can you... So that jump I did from the lily pad up into that log there, it skips going around the back end of Deku Palace, out the back exit there, and then across the other Deku Flowers. It saves a little bit of time. It's not the most precise jump in the world, but it is, I mean, it's also, I don't want to say it's completely free. It's not a completely free jump. You can miss it. If you miss it, you fall in the swamp water, and you will probably die, costing you about 30 to 45 seconds. So now we're going to be coming into this area. This area right here is where the first dungeon of the game is, Woodfall Temple. As Trev said, we will be coming into Woodfall Temple to get the bow, and arrow, which we need to access the second area of the game, which we need to complete that area in order to get the powder keg item, which is needed to get Epona, which we need to get Epona on first day. So what we're going to do here, so we're going to do part of Woodfall Temple, and then we're going to leave. We're going to leave and come back later.
Yeah, the main reason, like, I have been mentioning that, like, I've only been stating that he's coming here for the bow. He, like you said, he's not going to finish the temple right now. Finishing Woodfall Temple right now is not ideal, because when you complete Woodfall Temple first, there's actually an additional cutscene after the fact, where your fairy, who joined you at the very beginning during those intro cutscenes, Tattle, will apologize to you for being an absolute jerk up to that point. But we really just don't care. There is an alternate route that's about the same speed as this one, where you do actually watch that cutscene. But this is like the older route, and this one's often, a lot of runners consider this one to be more consistent. It is worth it to come back to Woodfall just to avoid that cutscene in this particular route. So that's what he's going to be doing.
I was told that due to that cutscene, the 2 routes are too close to say that one is faster. So this route is more consistent because you don't have to worry about in-game time as much, and it doesn't
the only runner I know that tried both, I think, is Ragan, who has the current record. And Ragan actually switched back to the route you're running, this one, because the other one has to deal with the last room of Woodfall without hookshot, which means it has to, like, it can potentially lose a lot of time to Dragonfly's RNG, because it doesn't want to kill both of them, or really either of them, if it doesn't have to.
Yeah, so we'll be doing the route where we get the bow and boss key, and then leave the temple. We could get the bow and then immediately leave, and then when we come back the second time, we'll need to get the boss key before going to the boss. That's a viable option. I mean, like, you could do it. You will lose 20
Yeah, the
seconds,
route
though.
used to just get in the bow and leave, and it was a more recent, like, I don't want to say recent because it was like a year ago, but that still is fairly recent by this category standards, that it was discovered that getting the boss key in this first trip is a little bit faster, even though you don't have fire arrows. Like, the main reason like that we came back and got boss key in the second trip is because you could use fire arrows to kill the boss, guarding the boss key faster. But it's not worth it, unfortunately. So it is a little bit better to get it in the first, even though you just have bow. It only takes 1 additional hit.
Oh. Okay.
That's not that bad.
No. No, that's not the worst error to make ever.
Yep. Something notable about the way you're gonna have to pass that through the torch.
Yeah, I didn't remember if I lit the one up top.
So something that the way sticks work in this game is every time you go over or they pass over a torch, your stick actually has a timer that's going. When that timer, you know, reaches, I guess, I don't know exactly how it works, but let's just say, for example, it hits 0, whatever that timer is, you have 0 time left. That's good when the stick starts to burn. When the stick burns, obviously your stick counter depletes by 1, and you don't have that stick anymore because it burned up. But every time you pass through a torch, whether it's lit or not, that torch will, your stick's timer refreshes. So that's important for making sure the stick doesn't burn there. And here you're seeing actually a sword recoil to the upper part of the main room. So this is the main room, basically, where he started. And normally you could get there by just going through that room he was in, using the Deku flowers to cross and dealing with the dragonflies, and then going down the stairs. But there are a bunch of holes in that room that, like, say you messed up in that room, you're like supposed to fall in or something. And if you slash your sword in one and bounce off of the wall, you'll bounce back far enough to land on the upper area, just due to the hole's placement.
Dude.
Yep, so now he's getting the bow, and he, like you said, he's gonna get the boss key also before exiting this area. So there's one more thing in this area, but he used actually it's technically a glitch, and the reason it's not banned, it's called power crouch stab. It's something that's in all versions of Ocarina of Time outside of the 3DS version, and it's in the Japanese version of Majora's Mask. And what power crouch stab is your crouch stab will take on the damage value of the last attack you did, and before fighting that mini boss, he actually did a jump slash with a Deku stick. A Deku stick actually has a damage value of 2. Just for comparison, your normal sword only has a damage value of 1, so the Deku stick is actually more powerful. And a jump slash just doubles the active, like the normal damage of a weapon. So a Deku stick jump slash is 4, which actually kills the mini boss in 1 hit. And the reason power crouch stab isn't banned, like it is questionable, and there are arguments for banning it in a glitchless category. But the main issue it presents is that the only way to ban power crouch stab is to ban all crouch stabs. Which presents a little bit of an issue when done. It is just a rather normal technique, one that's pretty easy to use by accident, and banning just unilaterally all crouch stabs kind of is tricky. It's hard to justify.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because, as he said, all crouch stabs, you know, you'd have to ban all crouch stabs, and that's just due to the fact that that's how crouch stabs work in the Japanese version of the game. And what power crouch stab does, okay, well that's not gonna work. What power crouch stab does is it makes it so that when you do a crouch stab, the damage that you do is determined by the strength of the most previous slash. So stick, as he said, has a damage value of 2, 4 if you jump slash. So if you do a stick jump slash and then do crouch stabs, your crouch stab, which should only have a value of 1, will have a value of 4, a damage value of 4. The reason why, and that's just how they work on the Japanese version of the game, and it's definitely a questionable thing. Like Trev said, it's something that people recognize as a glitch. It is not intended to work that way. It is very clearly a broken mechanic. But because of the fact that that is how crouch stabs work on the Japanese version of the game, it's the only way to ban it would be to ban the Japanese version of the game, and the community has felt that it's unreasonable to ban an official version of the game in any category. So that's the reason why it's allowed.
Yeah, it just isn't reasonable to ban it, most people feel. Like, just, like, it is definitely a glitch. It's just not something that can really be banned, because banning all crouch tabs is a little bit extreme. And, like, it doesn't even save a significant amount of time in the category. That's not really something that comes into play when, like, deciding rule sets. It never really should, is how much time it saves. That doesn't really matter. It's just whether or not it's a glitch or not. But, like, looking at it, just for the sake of this run, like, it's not something that changes the scope of the run or anything in the first place.
Yeah, there are ways to... We use it because it's faster since we have it, but if we didn't have it, we wouldn't lose a terribly large amount of time. I mean, we would just have to rework how we do some of the fights in the game, but, I mean, for some of them, it might actually be faster. Like, I'm thinking of the Ojola fight. Arguably faster if you have perfect quick spins.
Yep. So now, Hyrulian left Woodfall. He actually did a Death Warp, which is just... If you die in an area, it returns you to the beginning of that area. So there are two ways to return to the beginning of the temple after you got the boss key. He either could have played Song of Soaring, which in a temple just brings you back to the entrance, or he can die, which does the same thing, and it's just... Well, it's actually quite a bit faster. Especially since he did a quick Death Warp, which is, if you die when another sound effect is playing, it actually will skip, like, the death jingle. There's, like, a song that plays when you die in both Ocarina of Time and MM. Play if there's another, conflicting sound going on at the same time. And he died right after getting the boss key, before, like, the sound for the boss key, basically, had completely played through. So that actually cancels the death song and just brings him right back to the beginning, saving a lot of time. So it's much faster than using Song of Soul, or to just rat out your health so that after the fight you can die quickly. And right here, you're seeing him head to Lens Cave, where he can get the Lens of Truth. Normally you are intended to talk to that owl who will reveal the invisible platforms to you, but obviously if you've practiced and played this game, you just know where they all are. They actually change position on a day-to-day basis, but they're always the same on the same day.
So that's the cave right there where I mentioned earlier that I was going to completely fill up on bombs. Those bushes, you're not guaranteed to get a bomb from every bush, but getting a bomb from those bushes, the chances are much, much higher than other bushes.
They can
in the
only
game.
Drop bombs. That's
yeah, they can only drop bombs. So if they drop an
bombs.
item, it's going to be a bomb.
That's it. And it's like 50-50. So it's, you can always, unless you're Yumius, you can always fill up your bombs. Yumius is notorious for spin slashing in those bushes, and despite literally every single one being only able to give him bombs, he got nothing. He got absolutely nothing from all of them. It's hilarious. But that is not the norm. You can pretty much reliably always fill up on bombs there. It's something that every category that goes there always tries to take advantage of.
Yeah, I always make sure that I get at least one bomb drop when rolling through those bushes. I hope for two, if I can get them quickly, but I wouldn't normally take the time to spin slash the bushes, because there are other bombs later, and you just hope that you get as many as you can. But due to this being, you know, I want to make sure that my bomb count is safe, it took very little time to just fill up there. So something that's worth mentioning right here is after you get Lens of Truth and you make your way back across the invisible platforms there, the ghost of Darmani, the Goron, that is right there, that ghost is waiting for you and he'll lead you to this cave. However, he's always in this cave and you don't need to follow him. So if you just get to this cave on your own, his ghost is already there, and all you need to do to activate this cutscene to acquire Goron Mask is you need to activate the Lens of Truth sometime while in this room. You need to Activate the lens of truth, see the ghost, and then you can just play Song of Healing, and you'll get the mask. You don't have to follow him all the way around.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because lens is required there, like, that's the main reason that we don't just use lens to, like, say... Like, we don't skip lens, right? Because you could technically climb up to this area if you memorize the ladder. And I get a lot of people who say, like, oh, well, why do you need lens? You aren't very good if you need lens to climb that ladder. If you were really an expert in this game or really speedrunning, you would skip lens. But it's just not worth learning it because, well, you could do that, like, still, I guess. But, like... Once you get to the top, you do need lens to actually get Goron Mask. It is required. Otherwise, skipping lens would be ideal. So that is rather unfortunate. Then right here, you're seeing, he actually put on Deku, and he only had it on for, like, a very short time. Like, coming out of that cutscene, he was human. He just put on Deku before putting on Goron. The very first time you put on a transformation mask, you're actually forced to watch the transformation cutscene. Like, when you put on a transformation mask, there's an optional transformation cutscene normally. You can skip it with A or B. But the very first time you put on the mask, it's forced, actually. It's not optional. So, but that cutscene only plays going from human to that mask. So by putting on Deku first and going from Deku to Goron, you actually manage to skip that cutscene.
So right there was some suboptimal Goron rolling. There's something called an ESS roll. I'm still not as good at them as I would like to be. But that's okay, I didn't lose really any time. So I'm gonna do one here. Where you get to, and I did one right there, so you get to full speed rolling very, very quickly. The reason why I went to dump out my water and re-scoop it again is because the hot spring water is on a timer before it cools, and I need it to last, so I need to come in here, talk to the Goron child, and then go unfreeze the Elder, his father, and I need to do that before the timer runs out and the water cools. There is about, just from my own just testing and practicing, there's somewhere between, it's somewhere around 12 seconds of leniency, and I definitely wasted too much time having bad rolling and then falling in the water. Like here, I've had pretty good movement, pretty decent movement, and I'm not going to, like, I'm going to meet the timer, but before I was unsure, and it took 10 seconds to pop in and scoop new water, whereas if I hadn't made it within the timer, it would have costed about 3 minutes to go get new water.
Yeah, having to climb that ladder again is just extremely slow. It's not something you want to do. It's not quite 3 minutes, it's more like a minute and a half, but definitely not ideal to have to climb that really long ladder a second time.
Yeah.
So now we have more cutscenes.
Yeah, now we have more cutscenes.
This is another, like, decent cutscene-laden segment of the run, because he has to learn. Unfortunately, they just divided the song. Like, this Goron Elder is extremely forgetful. That's, like, his thing, I guess. He forgets the rest of the song. He's gonna play it, like, 3 times before deciding. He just doesn't remember the rest of it. So you get the intro to the song, and then you can go get the rest of it from the baby you talked to earlier. And that will allow, once we have the complete song from those series of cutscenes, then you will be able to access Snowhead, and that is the first dungeon that this run will be completing, because as we saw earlier, Woodfall is not complete yet. It will be faster to return later. But you can complete Snowhead right now, and getting fire arrows and turning this area to spring will be great for the rest of the run. Fire arrows is just an extremely useful item in general. Allows you to skip some puzzles occasionally, like it's its own source of fire, which is useful in many areas, and it does 4 damage, which is very useful in a lot of fights. So fire arrows are really good. They're probably the most useful elemental arrow. Light arrows being second, and ice arrows being worse than magic beans. But
Trev has this irrational disdain for ice arrows.
They're the coolest looking one, and they're also the worst. They're the least useful.
Well, they do kind of suck. Hopefully we see it because it's quite humorous. but it's very possible, apparently. So right after you get ice arrows later in the run, you have to shoot an Octo Rock to make a platform to climb up somewhere, and it's quite comical that sometimes I aim right at the Octo Rock and I shoot the water right behind him, but I don't shoot the Octo Rock, and then I fire another arrow in the exact same position, and then I hit him. So ice arrows do kind of suck. But, so now we are learning the rest of that song. The song we learned before, and this song will allow us to enter Snowhead Temple. It's called the Goron Lullaby. There is actually, so if you're familiar with glitched runs of this game, there are ways to do, lullaby skips. You can skip this song using glitches. It's one of the hardest tricks in the game that you'll do in pretty much any category. There is a glitchless lullaby skip, but it's not really human viable. A task could do it, but a human really couldn't.
The glitchless lullaby skip, it's it's allowed because it is technically glitchless, and people have like joked about it before, but it's not ever viable in a run, really. If you wanted to go for it, it would probably, like, no matter how much you practice, it's still just so random. It's so dependent on RNG in many cases, and it's so difficult. It's like the most difficult thing you could even bother to attempt in this run. If a run ever got it and the rest of the run was good, that run would be, I mean, it would be unbeatable without that trick. And first of all, no one wants to do that trick, so in many ways it would be an uncontestable world record unless someone else wanted to do that. But
how would you even do, once you get to the ramp, how would you even do that? Oh, you just slash all the way up.
So like the way this game works is when you slash at an edge, when you slash up to an edge in this game, you actually can't fall. It's like a safety to like help players, basically, so that they don't just like, when they're fighting something, they don't just like send themselves into a void by slashing off the edge, because slashing your sword in this game carries you forward a little bit. So the game stops you from like slashing your way off a cliff. What you can do is there's wind blowing in this area, and that wind is supposed to stop you from accessing it without this song, because after he plays this song, it's going to be revealed that Goron is the source of the wind, and he's going to fall into the pit, and you can access the song because there's no longer any wind, or the temple because there's no longer any wind. But you can actually, because when you're slashing your sword, you can't fall off a ledge, you could just, every time the wind blows, slash your sword, and then in between wind intervals, you could move forward, and then slash your sword some more, and then slowly make your way all the way to the entrance. But there are snowballs everywhere, and it's somewhat luck dependent based on like the length of wind cycles. In some places you need like longer cycles, and the wind is very specific. It is easily the hardest thing you could even attempt in this category, or probably most categories. So it's not worth it, but it would save like over a minute, maybe more. I don't even know how much. It would save a lot. It skips all those cutscenes. It's fast if you could do it, but it's just, you're never gonna see it in a glitchless run. I don't think it.
Yeah, glitchless lullaby skip would be faster than pretty much anything you do, even in, you know, the most intense of glitched categories, like for instance low percent. Low percent in this game has a lot of insanely difficult tricks, especially now with the newest route. Due to new stuff found recently. Before low percent was getting 16 items, due to things found recently, we've discovered that you can skip an additional item, bringing your item count total to 15. Low percent's a very difficult category, but glitchless lullaby skip is definitely up there in terms of just difficult, you know, tricks that you have to do.
Alright, so you're gonna see first example of a damage boost here. It's gonna let him skip, like, normally you can't even access this door from this side. Normally this door is actually to get back to this area from the other side, but by doing that damage boost, you can get out there to access this door. And that lets you get to this room without wasting your key. normally that key, this room he's in, like, before going up the staircase, that would let you access that room. But saving that key is actually very useful, because he's going to need 2 more keys in the dungeon, and it lets you skip having to get one of them that's actually rather slow. Like, there are 3 key doors, 3 keys in this temple, and now he only needs 2, and can skip the slowest of the 3 keys. And then right here, this upcoming room, after he unlocks this door, is called Puzzle Room. You have to hit a whole bunch of switches in order to unblock the door, but Puzzle Room is really, really slow. It takes like 30 seconds to hit all these switches. He's just going to do a damage boost, skip the puzzle, go right to the door. Thankfully, it defaults to not being blocked. Right here, this is actually a small time saver, but you can roll across these diagonally. Normally you have to roll across, then go around, and then roll across again. Go all the way around the room. But rolling diagonally actually saves 8 seconds.
So I got hearts before entering this fight. I probably won't need them, but you will take fall damage later, and it's a heart of fall damage. And I only had 1 1/4 left, so they were just safety hearts.
Yep. Right here, you're going to see something called Wizrobe cutscene skip. Right now, after you hit Wizrobe twice, he starts trying to load a cutscene for the second phase of the fight. But right before he loads the cutscene, there's a frame where he's vulnerable and can take damage. It's just how he works. He's vulnerable for a second there. So you can hit him, and it will actually cancel his second phase, and he'll never enter it. You'll never watch the cutscene for it. And the second phase is really slow, because the second phase he spawns fake images of himself all over the room, and you have to find the real one real quick, and you're still chasing him around. So being able to skip that second phase saves quite a bit of time. Get another diagonal roll. That one saves you less time, because you don't have to go all the way around the room if you don't do that diagonal roll. That diagonal roll saves like 2-3 seconds, barely even worth it. If you fail it, you lose like 15.
Again, just turn the camera there before rolling, just to, you know.
Just progressing up the temple right now. Notably, he's actually, the intended way to complete this temple, there's like a button at the bottom that raises a giant pillar in the center of the temple. This entire temple was originally meant to be based around this giant pillar in the center that raises up and lets you access these higher rooms and parts of it that aren't normally accessible without it, but you can just jump into this bridge with a precise jump, and that lets you skip ever raising the pillar because you can access this bridge without it, which is pretty nice. And again, he's not going to need the pillar to access this area over here because you can just do a spike roll to it. It's just basically bypassing all of these uses of the pillar that you would normally raise in the center of the room by jumping around from bridge to bridge.
And that, I just want to say that roll to that room is the easiest, hard-looking trick in the whole run. The inputs are very easy for it.
Yet another Wizrobe cutscene skip here. It's exactly the same as the first one. You actually got really good luck. Ooh.
Oh,
yeah, a little bit early on the punch. Wizrobe is only vulnerable for 1 frame. And again, this game is 20 FPS. But the punch actually stays within his hitbox for a few frames. So it's actually a couple more frames than that. I believe it's 3 or 4. I forget. I think it's 3. But
yeah, it's like a 3-frame punch. The visual cue is pretty solid. I just went too early. No big deal. No big deal. It's only the length of that cutscene.
Now gets the boss key, and then he's gonna do the exact same jump into that snowball bridge.
That wasn't the smoothest thing I've ever done.
Yep.
If we're being...
That is quite alright, though. When you fall down like that, you can actually use the Deku Mask and just burn in the lava, and that will return you to the last door you went through. It saved your position, so you can just go into the lava, burn, respawn at the top, and try it again, and it's just a small time loss. Thankfully, you don't have to climb back up again. If you had to climb back up again, that would be it would be like a 3D attempt.
Yeah, so the reason why I fell there is because there is a much easier, safer way to do that jump. If you shoot the fireball, if you shoot the snowball blocking that tunnel with a fire arrow before you do the jump, it's pretty easy to get the jump. But just due to the fact that, being speedy, showing off cool things, I Tried to hit it with a bomb, and my initial jump across that ledge was bad. And because I was holding a bomb out, I wasn't able to grab the ledge, but just small little mistake. Like Trev said, in a good run, may potentially be run killing, but here it only lost, you know, maybe 30 seconds. We're still very okay.
Yeah, so now we're at the goat fight, actually. We can do a really neat strategy for this fight, I guess, if you haven't seen it before. But most people, when they play this game, probably tackle the fight by chasing down Goat with Goron. But when Goat gets too far ahead of you, he'll stop and shoot lightning bolts at you from a corner. You, like, turn around the corner. But if you stand at a very specific spot, like Hyrulian is now, you can actually shoot Goat without him shooting lightning bolts at you, and that lets you just kill him with arrows. And the only thing you need to really be thinking about when you're doing that is that after a certain amount of time, Goat will actually stop waiting for you to turn around the corner, basically, and he'll just charge at you. So he won't be, like, waiting to shoot you with lightning bolts anymore, he'll just charge at you. But if you side hop out in front of him, and side hop back, he'll shoot a single lightning bolt at you, but then stop again because you went back around the corner technically and he can't see you anymore, and that'll reset his timer, so it'll stop him from charging at you again. The only thing notable is that you want to manipulate him so that he starts running at you right when you kill him, because if you kill him when he's in that corner, he actually turns around and dies at the exact opposite side of the arena, but if he starts running at you first, he'll die right next to you. So it's very specific. You kill him in a pattern of either 1-5-9 or 1-4-10 or 5-10. Basically, you're gonna the biggest phase where you're shooting the most arrows without resetting the cycle and side hopping back in front of him is always at the end. That way, right when you hit him with your last arrow, he dies, or he's running at you and he dies.
He's running at you, so he dies at the corner of the room down by you. If you kill him too fast, he dies if you kill him before he starts running, he actually dies down at the corner completely opposite from you, and that's maybe a 20-25 second time loss because you need to put on Goron mask and roll around the room. If you kill him too late, there's a certain point as he's running at you. If you kill him too late, he actually skips the corner you're on and runs to the next corner. And then again, that's, you know, maybe a 15-second time loss. You need to put on Goron mask and roll to the, you know, adjacent corner. So now we're done with the first temple of the game, and now we have to do the famous Goron race. Trev, can you talk about Goron race before we get to it?
Well, Goron race is really fun segment of the run. It's actually really difficult. A lot of people who run this game will swear to you it's just completely random, it's RNG, nothing you can do. You don't listen to those people because they're just sad that they're bad at it. But basically, you have to do a race against 4 other Gorons. It's not actually required to beat the game. However, this category still does it because you get a bottle out of it. And bottles are going to be very useful for speeding up later segments of the game. Actually, this one particular segment, the bottles are going to be very useful for. So having the bottle and doing the Goron race for it is worth the time investment just for the time it saves later. And we'll get to that when we get there. But basically, this entire race going through it is just going to be for that bottle. And you need to win the race, get first, in order to get the bottle. You can't get second, third, anything like that. You need to absolutely win it. And the Goron's rubber band. You may be familiar with like a Mario Kart game where like the AI is rubber band, and it's different depending on which game. The Goron's rubber banding is pretty bad. They will speed up significantly if you get ahead of them, and they slow down pretty bad actually if you fall behind to help you catch up. But due to how little you can see behind you, and due to certain mechanics of the race, like if the Gorons bump you at certain spots, you'll lose your spikes. Basically, having spikes during the entirety of the race is very important. If you lose spikes at any point, then next time you get hit by a Goron, if you don't get your spikes back in time, they will knock you over and you'll stop completely, you'll have a damage animation, and it just takes a while to recover from that. So you really don't want to lose spikes. You don't want to get hit by the Gorons at the wrong point. It's all just like what Goron Race comes down to is how fast can you react? How familiar are you with the patterns that they tend to exhibit? Because they do exhibit quite a few patterns. There's recurring things they do. How familiar with you are these things so that you can react appropriately? And so it's just like how knowledgeable and how experienced is someone with this particular side quest, this minigame. And that generally determines like how well they do at it. So
yeah, there's a small, I mean, there is obviously a little bit of RNG with the Goron Race, but you know, if you are good at Goron Race, you should be able to win 9 out of 10 times at least. There is a certain point, like actually one of my viewers keeps a spreadsheet with my Goron Race data, and I do have better than a 90% win ratio. So, or at least since he started keeping the spreadsheet, and there have been at least 10. So, there's a point in the race where, depending on how I've done when I get to that point, we'll know if I'm gonna win or not. So hopefully. Trev just said Goron Race is only RNG for scrubs, and Hyrulian admits it's RNG. I said there's a certain level of RNG, but you should be able to win.
Yeah,
Gosh.
you can win in pretty much every scenario. There are definitely some patterns that you could get that are harder than others from the Gorons. Like if they attack you at certain points, it can be much harder to react. Like in some cases, almost impossible to react because they just come too fast. Like you need to be anticipating it, and you can't really plan for everything. But if you do this race more, you will get better at it. You will win. It's not just completely random whether or not you win. That's disingenuous for sure. But you do want to definitely win it, because losing this race is actually a very substantial time loss. The race takes quite a while. It's almost, if you, like, say you lose but you complete the race, that's like a minute and a half. And you can actually lose in a way earlier where like you fall off the higher path, and that won't be quite as much time loss, but like losing this race is substantial. If you lose it, it's actually just not worth it, technically. Like, technically it's still worth it to go for it again, because at that point it's like, I mean, I guess if you know this term, it's a sunk cost. Basically, you've already lost that time. There's nothing you can do to recover it, and your best choice at that point is to just go for what will save the most time, which is still going for that bottom. So, you want to win the race first time. It is a rather substantial time loss. And it's only worth it doing this race for the bottle if you win. But right here you see he's in second. Alright, actually.
Yeah, I won the race. So, that was a little bit sloppier. An ideal time. I mean, you want to get a 103 or a 104 in the race. We got or I guess a 103. 102.
If you are the legendary SS Juicy J, you'll get a 102. You will not be happy unless you get anything, or if you get anything else.
What do you get?
103 usually. 104, like you said.
Yeah, 103, 104 is what I strive for. That was a 109, but I will take it because we did not lose the race. I mean, was that... Did I do the race perfectly? No. There was one point, like, around the tree area, I know I could have played better to ensure I didn't get knocked over. But, I mean, I'll take it. Anytime you lose spikes and don't lose... anytime you lose spikes and don't lose the race, it's a bonus. So...
Alright, so now that he has the bottle, he has used the powder keg. First of all, you have to, even if you aren't going to do the race, like there are some routes, they're mostly safety routes, that, like for races and stuff, that don't do Goron Race, because again, it's such a huge time loss if you lose. But, like, let's say you were going to do one of those routes that didn't do Goron Race, you actually still need to blow up the boulder that blocks the Goron Race, and that's because that is the requirement for you to gain access to the powder keg item. The powder keg item is going to allow you, or us, to blow up this boulder here, blocking the ranch. And again, this is like everything the first day, like we're still in the first day right now. this was all coming to this. We wanted to blow up this boulder before the end of the first day and access the ranch to get a Pona Song because it is only available on that first day. Because without a Pona Song, you can't get Garo Mask, and without Garo Mask, you cannot access Akana Canyon. So it's all very important that you do all of that before first day.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously there was that mess up in Snowhead, and I missed the fast cycle in Deku Palace. So this run hasn't been perfect, but I still have plenty of time. I haven't struggled with making the cycle. Actually, I mean, I don't know if I've ever really struggled with making, getting Epona, because when I was starting out with the category, I just didn't do everything. You know, I would get fire arrows and then leave Snowhead until I was fast enough to finish Snowhead Temple and still have time. I would save Goron Race for later, and I just adapted. But, I mean, the route I'm doing is the optimal route of the game, and, you know, there's still plenty of leeway for this. I, you know, obviously have made a couple mistakes, and then I still am not, obviously, as good as, like, you know, I don't have world record. I have a few more minutes up to this point that I could shave off my personal best. So there is a bit of leeway. Okay, but let's go for a decent Epona archery. Trev, I'm sorry, you're going to be horrified. This is going to be terrible.
No, you're going to get the sub 20 right now.
Nope, if I get sub 30, I'm pleased.
Something notable about this minigame is you can actually win it without bow. There's like a time limit. It goes up to 2 minutes, and at 2 minutes the game will automatically end, and it will just pity award you the song anyway. But obviously completing the game before that is ideal so that you can just end it sooner. And anything sub 20 is generally extremely good. Like sub 20 in this minigame is really hard to get. I've gotten it like 2 or 3 times ever, and only one of them was in a run.
Yeah, that was very, we'll call that very par. We'll call that very par. It was a 30 seconds, or 30 seconds something. It was a 32, man, we're getting less par. It was that 4th balloon, man, that 4th balloon, I just missed.
Disappointing, truly. You're gonna make it up with the 46th Garo Race. I expect nothing less.
Oh man, I generally get 47s.
Oh no.
You know, you told me that as long as you get a 47, you don't consider it a low 47, you don't consider it a failure.
I do now, though.
So...
That was a while ago. My standards have gone up. Anything higher than 46 is atrocious, honestly. Basically reset worthy, actually. Like, losing a whole second
yeah.
on a minigame, disgusting. Shame.
Yeah, no, losing an entire second right there. Not even a whole second, because we're talking the difference between a 46 and a low 47. So, I mean, 46.9 or 46.59 is acceptable, but...
Yep, and you may have noticed Hyrulian just uninverted.
Milliseconds?
That is actually very important because, again, he was only inverted so that he can make it to Garo Mask before the end of the first day. But now that he's definitely going to make it, like he still has over an hour and a half of in-game time left, right? He uninverted because there's a segment coming up. We call it, just refer it to the aliens segment or something. Basically, aliens are going to invade the ranch, try to steal its cows, and that always occurs at the same in-game time. And we want it to reach that in-game time at a very specific point. Because we're going to be doing things up until that point, but there's only so many things we can do before we want to go there and do that. Like get a bottle. There's not like an infinite amount of things, and that bottle is going to be important because shortly afterwards, it's going to become necessary shortly afterwards, basically, that bottle. So he uninverted because if he plays well and doesn't make any mistakes, which is hard to do, but if he does it, then he doesn't have to reinvert, and aliens will occur right when he needs it to, basically. He actually is going to have a little bit of extra time for marathon safety. It's why he inverted so early at the very beginning of the cycle, so that he would have that extra time. But basically, this entire next segment is going to be working up to that aliens, and he needs to do everything. Oh, 47.
It was a low 47 though. It was a low 47. I would be very pleased with that. That was not the worst race I've ever had. Heck, when I first started running the category, I would get like 50. So, heck, there was even, no, I hate to even say this because that race is so easy. There was one time I lost it in a run.
You can get a 50 and still win?
Yeah, you can get a 50 and still win. One time I lost because, not because I was too slow, like, I didn't finish the race. I actually used my carrots poorly. So, in order for Epona to jump a fence, you need to have a certain amount of speed, and the speed you get is, you know, from using the carrots. So I used my carrots poorly, so I came up to one of the fences that you need to jump when I didn't have enough speed to jump it. I just mistimed a carrot use. So I didn't jump over the fence, and I ended up losing the race. I actually think I reset before the end of the race, is how, you know, like I had lost.
Yep. So you're going to see Hyrulian just abandoned Epona, used Epona to get over the fence, but Epona actually moved slower than Goron. So Epona is not worthwhile ever. You're not going to see her that much in this run. You're going to see her one more time.
You will see her one more time.
Yeah, you see her one more time just because you can, like, again, you can damage boost over fences, but you're going to use her to enter Akana Canyon because there are several fences there, so using her to just jump over all of them quickly is faster than, like, damage boosting over each one individually. That would be rather slow. So she's going to get, you're going to see Epona one more time.
Yeah, Zapdos in the speed gaming chat, we do save Romani. We will be returning to the ranch later for the, we will be returning to the ranch later to fight the aliens.
Yep, it's just for the bottle. Just, like, for the same reason that he did Goron Race earlier, getting that bottle and having 3 bottles is going to be ideal for the egg quest in this area. So now that now that we're here, we can talk about it. But basically, this is another one of the main areas of the game. It has its own dungeon. In order to get the song to access said dungeon, you need to do an egg collection quest, a Zora egg collection quest. There are 7 eggs, split up into 4 in one area and 3 in another. And after he does aliens, he's actually gonna have 3 bottles total. So what's happening is he's gonna get Zora Mask here through this long cutscene. He'll have it, he'll go to Pirate's Fortress to get the item there, and he'll get 1 egg. Because he has 1 bottle available right now. He has 2, but one of them has an item in it. Gold dust. So he'll get 1 egg while he's in Pirate's Fortress, and that's the area that has 4. And that'll leave 3 eggs in both areas, and then he'll come back later after aliens with 3 bottles, and then he can do the 3 bottles in both areas in only 1 trip, the 3 eggs. So it's ideal to get those 3 bottles for that reason, so that you can do Pirate's Fortress in 2 trips, and Pinnacle Rock in only 1. It is ideal not to get a 4th bottle, basically, because all the other bottles are really slow. There's, like, the Beaver Race bottle, which takes, like, 4.5. And then another bottle involved with the Anjuin Cafe side quest. So it's just not, it's not ideal to go any further beyond those first 3. But those first 3 are all worth it for that reason. Like, not having to keep going to these areas to get the eggs multiple times and just getting them all in 1 trip is much faster.
Yeah, and one more thing to note is in the bottle, so we get the 2 bottles that we get, well, the 3 bottles. The first one we have to get in the glitchless category to be able to access Deku Palace. But the 2 bottles we get later, the Gold Dust bottle from Goron Race and then the Milk bottle from Aliens, we get those bottles, not only are they the quickest next bottles to get, they also have resources inside them that are really helpful for the run. So the Gold Dust inside the bottle, we will be selling that Gold Dust later, in about, I don't know, 10 minutes, probably under 10 minutes, we'll be selling that Gold Dust, and that will get us to 99 rupees, which will allow us to, we need to spend 90 rupees. So we sell the Gold Dust in that bottle to get enough money, and then the Milk bottle is used because we need milk in order to get the Mirror Shield. And getting the Milk bottle allows us to not have to go out of our way to get milk later.
Yep, so it's all just very convenient overall. getting these specific bottles, and they're all fairly fast. Like, the aliens bottle takes very little time at all, as long as you manage your in-game time well. Like, the ideal scenario with aliens, it probably won't play out exactly like this because it's much better with this to be safe in a marathon. But if you're playing optimally for like a PB and you can afford to just like, mess it up and reset if you don't play it right, you want to arrive at the ranch as close as possible to basically lose it. Like, the aliens will, if you take too long to kill them, they will take the cows, they will get to the barn, they will kidnap Romani, and you lose. You can't get that bottle anymore. You want to arrive as close to that point as possible in the run, because you don't want to be waiting around. If you get there earlier, you're just spending more time at the ranch and waiting for the event to end, because the event always ends at 5:15. Like, getting there any earlier is just a waste. So the way it works is the event starts at 2:30. However, the aliens, the first wave of aliens that spawn, do not win until 3:49 on the in-game. And ideally, if you were to play this completely optimally, you would arrive at somewhere at the ranch, somewhere in between 3:30 and 3:32. 3:32 being like absolutely insane, you're a moron, and you're gonna lose, but you can do it technically.
What was the front end of that
3:30.
ideal time, did you say? 3:30? In this marathon run, I'm going to try to be entering the ranch by 3:20, 3:25.
I'd say 3:20 is probably better for a marathon.
Yeah. I was actually going to say 3:15, 3:20, but man, I already got scolded.
This is much better to play safe during the marathon. The race, you're...
Yeah. Yeah, it's something where if you lose aliens in a regular run, the run is dead. For the marathon, the run is not dead. We will be continuing if we lose aliens, but it'll be about, I don't know, 10 minutes of time loss.
Yeah, it's rather substantial. Because the thing is, you have been, up to this point, committed to a 3-bottle route, and you're assuming you're going to have that 3rd bottle. But if you mess up aliens, then you only end up having 2. And so at this point, if you were to only have 2 bottles after aliens because you did not get the 3rd one, what that results in is there's still going to be 3 eggs in both Pinnacle Rock and Pirate's Fortress, and so he's going to have to do 2 more trips to both instead of just 1, and that's insanely slow. The 2-bottle route actually still only ends up doing 2 total trips to Pirate's Fortress, because in its first trip it just gets 2 eggs, but he's only going to get 1, and so there's still going to be 3 eggs here. So he actually, even though the 2-bottle route would normally only does 2 routes, or 2 trips here, he's going to end up doing more just because at first he was committing to the 3-bottle route.
And Pinnacle Rock, I mean, would always be you'd have to take 2 trips there in a 2-bottle route. It's just slow. It's just slow to fail aliens. So we're not going to fail aliens. I will invert time if necessary, but I mean, it shouldn't be necessary. I'm going to try to give myself more than enough time.
Yeah, so right here, you're actually going to see something that is unique to the Japanese version of this game. He's going to open this door, and this pirate is not going to see him. He's just going to side hop around her, go right next to her, and not get caught. Normally, in this game, if you get too close to one of these pirates, they actually kick you back to the beginning of the area. And something that exists in both versions is that the pirates outside, not in a building, they will have worse vision at night. And that makes sense, because it's dark outside. However, the Japanese version doesn't make a distinction between the pirates that are outdoors and indoors, and the pirates that are indoors also have worse vision at night, despite it being a lit building. So it allows you to bypass that pirate if it's nighttime on the Japanese version, and shoot the beehive from below here. And that saves a good deal of time. On the English version, that is not possible, because the pirates do actually have normal vision indoors at all times. So that wouldn't be possible without either Stone Mask. On Stone Mask, you can actually still do that strat almost the same.
That was actually a pretty solid segment. I don't think I made any big errors. There was one slight thing I didn't do a side hop after hitting the switch earlier, but that was a pretty solid section. So right now, we're going to be selling the gold dust. as I said before, to get to 99 rupees, and that will become apparent. Well, first off, we need to do this because we need the bottle to be empty. The second reason is because we need to do some shopping, and so the very next thing I'm gonna do. So I just emptied the bottle, got to 99 rupees. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop into this shop right here to catch the fish that's right here, and this fish will be used in a little bit in order to get the mirror shield. And then we're gonna pop into this shop, pay 50 rupees to get another powder keg, and then 40 rupees to get a set of bomb chews. Bomb chews are not necessarily required, but they just make it so much faster. Especially in Stone Tower Temple.
Yep.
Something that I think is really cool about this run is that there is just a lot of preparing for future moments of the run. So, for example, earlier in the run, at the very start, we got 5 magic beans when we were inside Deku Palace. And the reason for that, we didn't, as you guys have seen, we haven't used a magic bean yet, but we need to get 5 magic beans because we need to give 5 of them away in order to get the mirror shield. And that was abysmal magic luck right there. So, we're low on magic, but that's okay.
Yep. So, like we mentioned earlier, he's still waiting on aliens, and he's trying to do as much as he can whilst the aliens event is still, like, not happened yet. You still want to make effective use of your time. You're not just going to sit there waiting. So, again, he cleared Pirate's Fortress, or at least got the hook shot and 1 egg, so he did part of it. And then now he's actually heading to Akana. And his goal in Akana is he's not going to be able to complete the entire area. There's, like, Stone Tower Temple here. That's the end goal. But he's going to do a lot of the prep work for getting to Stone Tower. So he's going to get Song of Storms, and his goal is, again, aliens win at 3:49, and you need to be there before then. You may see now it's past midnight now, so he only has a couple in-game hours left. His goal, before he needs to go to Alien, is he wants to clear the graveyard here and get Song of Storms. That's the ultimate goal. And then he wants to head to Akana Canyon and at least hit the owl statue so that he can soar back later. That is the bare minimum. Now, if he has a little bit of extra time, he'll also watch the cutscene where you play Song of Storms at the cave, and he'll also get Gibdo Mask. But that's extra and not necessary. And then right here, you're actually going to see a really cool strat. You'll see, you can still see it. He dropped a bomb there before playing Sonata to wake up this guy. The bomb will actually hit him in the cutscene. What this enemy is trying to do is the enemy wants to run away from him and go around this circular area before Link can catch up. And if he does, then he wins. So, but by using that bomb and hitting him during the cutscene, the enemy doesn't really gain any distance on him at all, and you can just immediately catch up with him and start the fight. So, saves quite a bit of time because you don't have to even bother trying to catch up to him. You just, or he's right there for you to hit. You don't have to chase him at all, and you get another long cutscene.
And if you guys didn't notice, that was actually incredibly lucky. One of the 2 little Sol children who died when I initiated the fight, one of them dropped a magic jar. So we actually have enough magic that we'll be able to spike roll as far as we need to go. So earlier when I said we didn't get magic when we needed it, but right there, that just made up for it. So that was kind of lucky.
Yeah, the only thing the magic is useful for is, again, if you have Goron, or if you have magic when you're Goron rolling, you can get the spikes. And the spikes are slightly faster whenever you're Goron rolling. I forget the exact speed difference. I think it is either 15 or 16 versus 18.
So contrary to some opinion, to some people's belief right there, you can just jump across that ledge. Some people didn't, I mean, it's not known really, but just jumping across that ledge like that saves time. You don't need to hookshot or climb above the railing or do a bomb hover or anything like that.
Okay, normal Goron roll is 15.6, spike roll is 18. Small difference there. Definitely meaningful.
Okay, so let me get through this fight because it is a little stressful, and then let's explain what's going on here. So, but before we get to the fight, and then I'll just focus on that for a sec. We have to light these torches to unlock a room where there is an Iron Knuckle. If you're familiar with either this game or Ocarina of Time, the Iron Knuckle does 4 hearts of damage with 1 hit. And so you see, I have 4 hearts, so if I get hit once, I'm dead. So hopefully this fight goes okay.
The strat is really cool for the Iron Knuckle, but it is a little bit... I mean, it looks pretty scary, but as long as he jumps at the right points, the Iron Knuckle cannot hit him. And then the scariest part is right here with his armor off, because if you mistime your punch, you'll actually get hit. Like, if you swing too early... Wow, that one nearly hit. That was...
Yeah, that one was right at the end. I don't know why, but I was expecting a horizontal slash.
What makes that so scary is you can't just mash punches for that phase with his armor off. When his armor is off, if you swing too early, he'll still be invulnerable from the previous hit, and your punch will just go right through him without hitting him, and he'll continue his swing and kill you. And if you swing too late, then he's already killed you. So... Again, because you have only 4 hearts at this point, that fight can be a little bit scary. And is made even worse by the fact that if you die, well, you wasted in-game time fighting him. You still have to go fight him. And Aliens is coming, and it's now closer, and you wasted that in-game time. So it can be really punishing to mess up and die to that fight. Because you either will miss Aliens, or you'll have to invert time to make Aliens, and both of those are, I mean... Missing Aliens is run killing, and inverting actually wastes a ton of time. You really don't want to have to invert in-game time if you don't have to in this segment.
Songs with the C-stick are the worst. So, I'm playing on like I said before, I'm playing on the Wii Virtual Console, and so that means I am using a GameCube controller. And the GameCube controller is amazing for this game in all aspects, pretty much, except for one. In order to do C up when playing the Ocarina, you need to hit the C stick. All of the other buttons all of the other C buttons from the N64 controller are mapped to different buttons on the GameCube controller. But C up is C up on the C stick, and it sucks sometimes for playing songs. Like right there, I just missed it and went to the next note.
What's really nice about the GameCube controller, though, is the notches on the analog stick. The notches let you make perfect 90-degree turns, and you actually have them on the diagonals, too. And that's really important for a lot of setups, especially in glitch categories, more so.
Although there is that one roll in Snowhead Temple that, if you recall right before the second Wizrobe fight, when I said, really nice. This is really easy, that is just you hold A, and then you hold upright in the notch, and you'll get that jump every time.
Alright.
Okay. This hook shot right here is somewhat precise.
Yeah, normally you're intended to use ice arrows to cross this area. You're not supposed to be able to get into a kind of canyon without ice arrows and using them to freeze those Octoroks. But if you stand at a very specific spot, this tree is just placed too close. You can hook shot it. They didn't really double check that one. So if you're standing as close to that tree as you possibly can, you can hookshot it and get into a kind of canyon early without any need for glitches. It's just a poorly placed tree, which is really nice because it lets you hit the owls so that you can soar back later, and you can start doing all these side quests. Like, so right now you'll notice it is actually 2:45, so
which is very early. I am quite early for Aliens. Even so, I'm still going to have time to go get Gibdo Mask, and still make it to Aliens. That takes about, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 20 in-game minutes.
Yeah, like I said, like the bare minimum is that he hits the owl statue before going to Aliens, but he hit the owl statue already, and it's still like too early to go to Aliens, so he's doing these other things. And like these couple things, like what he's doing right now, playing Song of Storms to start the water flow again, and getting Gibdo Mask, you can either do them before or after Aliens, because right after Aliens, he's going to be coming back here. And when you come back here, you do whatever you haven't done, and then go to Gibdo Well. And if you just have all these things done already, you just go to Gibdo Well. So he's going to have all of them done already, and you can just go to Gibdo Well when he finishes Aliens, which is really nice, actually. I think it is fastest to manage your time so that you complete this but don't have Gibdo Mask yet, and then go to Gibdo Well. But it's so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. especially in a marathon run.
But a good thing to note with being able to do Gibdomask before Aliens is it means that right after Aliens, I will soar back here and go right to the well. And if I didn't get the Gibdomask before, then I would have to get Gibdomask before going to the well, and that makes getting to the well before the dawn of the second day tight. It's very possible to make it, but it's tight. You know, one little slip up, you won't make it. And if you don't make it, then you have about an 8-second cutscene for the day transition. Whereas if you make it, if you're inside the well or a dungeon and other areas, but you don't have a day transition. So because I am going to get Gibdomask before, I will be able to go straight to the well and skip any chance of getting that extra cutscene.
Cutscene is not necessary.
It is. It really, really is. But again, I mean, things like that and things like the tediousness of first cycle are just things that I never noticed before I started speedrunning.
For sure. It's still, like, it can, I guess, still be a pretty interesting cutscene your first time. It's just all these things you notice when you're, like, watching it repeatedly, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
Yeah.
so he's got the water flowing in the canyon again, and that basically gets the music playing in the house so that the Gibdos go away. And that means that the young girl who lives there, Pamela, I think is how you pronounce that, or Pamela?
Yeah, Pamela.
She's gonna come out now. And when she comes out, the door is unlocked if she's outside, and you're able to get in to get Gibdomask. But when you walk up to her, obviously she ran away, so he's going to place a bomb. The explosion is going to... Obviously, when you hear an explosion at your doorstep, your first thought is to go outside and check it. So when you place the bomb, she's going to come out, be like, what the heck was that? Why are people blowing up bombs outside? And you can get in. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I've actually followed her when she comes outside to where she goes. She actually walks all the way to Gibdowell and will look down inside. Because the thing with her story is that her father has been cursed to be, like, kind of a Gibdo, like right here. You play Song of Healing to save him and to get Gibdomask. Like, you turn that curse into the mask. And I guess she's, like, looking down Gibdowell, hoping to, like, figure out some way to cure him or something. But that's what she does. She walks all the way to the well. It's actually a really long walk.
But if you approach the door, if you get too close to her, she runs back in and locks the door. So you want to make sure that she walks away a little bit before you try to go in the door. Okay, so now is Aliens. I have plenty of time, but I'm still going to... go straight there and immediately start shooting them, try to play it safe. I'm actually gonna take out one earbud for the next couple minutes because failing Aliens is a bad thing.
So he's gonna be entering the ranch around 3:20. This is actually what he said he wanted earlier. Again, it's not as late as you could, but the aliens are about a half hour of in-game time from winning, and we are uninverted, so they are basically going to win, like, I mean, less than this now, but when he entered, he had about, like, 22-ish seconds, 23-ish. So there's 8 aliens, and he's actually shooting one through the barn here. The barn just doesn't have collision for arrows. Arrows just go right through the barn. And so he can actually shoot one that's on the other side and clear them all from that one position. Normally you'd need to, like, go around the barn to clear that one in the back. But because the barn just doesn't have collision programmed for it, you can shoot an arrow through.
With the reasoning that it doesn't have collision, our best guess can be that because the aliens don't actually win when they hit the barn, they have to go inside the barn a little bit until they hit a trigger on the inside of it. So the best guess as to why the barn doesn't have any collision on the walls is so that you can continue shooting the aliens until they hit that win trigger.
Yep.
I'm gonna hope for magic. We did get magic, so now we won aliens. I mean, we can just watch
The
them
aliens
approach.
take about an hour and
19 minutes. They take an hour and 19 minutes to appear. So the way that you can figure this out is they spawn at 2:30 a.m. and they win at 3:49. So it takes them an hour and 19 minutes to win. And the game, or not game, but the quest, the battle against the aliens ends at 5:15. So if you kill them anytime after 3:56, you cannot lose. You'll see runners kill them all for the second time after 4, just because you can see 4 a lot easier than you can see 3:56. But yeah, if you kill them after 4, you can't lose.
And so you can see there, like, because of the way in-game time is managed and Hyrulian showing up literally, like, basically at the last moment to shoot the aliens, he didn't really end up spending much time there, and that makes that bottle definitely very worth it. So now that he has 3 bottles, that's good. And he's going to be heading to the well now. And, like, the big thing with this well is to progress through it, you need a bunch of just basically arbitrary items that the Gibdos in here want. You can talk to them with Gibdo Mask on. And they all want items, and if you give them, they'll unbar the doors for you. The entire run up to this point, Hyrulian has been collecting the items he needs to give these Gibdos at whenever it's convenient, basically. And so he already has most of them. You can actually get almost every item you need in the well, but getting them outside of the well is a little bit more convenient because a lot of them require you going to, like, kind of side paths and stuff that just require even more items to get to. But for the most part, like, if you were playing this casually, you could actually get through without, like, ever leaving the well once you're in and you've got, like, access to, like, the first 2 or 3 doors. But
yeah, what's the? There are 2 doors you can go in right at the start.
Blue potion and magic beans.
So which one of them can't you get in the well?
Can't get either of those in the well, I thought.
Okay, so you need to come in with magic beans then. At least. Magic beans and blue potion, and then you can get everything else you need. Okay, so this fight right here, there are we have 4 opportunities to get a fast shot off here. It's a 2-frame shot. I'm going to get all 4 right now and be a legend.
Bomb straight.
Man, I am not a legend today, guys. So, yeah, the bomb strat is better. I just haven't learned it. It doesn't save any time. It's just more consistent. But I'm pretty decent at the arrow strat. But I only got 2 for 4 today, so maybe I'm not pretty decent. Maybe I suck. No, I mean, it's a 2-frame shot. The reason the bomb strat is better is because bombs have a multi-frame, they can do damage for multiple frames. So even though you have 2 frames to hit the Poe, the bomb explosion is so large that you don't need to time it super precisely. You have 1 frame to hit the Poe, but the arrow remains inside his hitbox for 2. When it's, like, passing through, it can, like, already be inside of him when the hitbox becomes active, which is why it's 2 arrows. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alright, so you had to kill the Poe just so that he could give it to that particular Gibdo, and then the last Gibdo in the well needs milk, and very luckily we just did the aliens and got the bottle that has milk in it, so you already have it. That's really convenient. And that's basically it for the well, so it really trivializes that whole area, lets you get through it very quickly, taking an almost direct path, only sidetracking for Big Poe. And now I equipped fire arrows for this last room here to light these torches. And that's good, because now we're going to be going back to Woodfall to complete Woodfall, and we need fire arrows. So we need fire arrows equipped. So if you notice when you equip an elemental arrow in this game, fire, ice, or light arrows, there is a short little animation, not a pause there, it is an ocarina. So there is a short animation that plays, and that animation is 2 to 3 seconds. So if you do, it doesn't really matter which you do first, well or Woodfall 2. But if you do them in this order, it saves equipping fire arrows a second time. So you save a couple seconds. So now we're coming back to Woodfall Temple, if you guys remember from earlier, we already got the boss key. So we can just go straight through to the end of the temple.
He's actually going to be able to, like, trivialize the last couple rooms in this temple because he has hookshot and fire arrows. It's another reason that doing Woodfall in 2 trips, other than skipping that cutscene. Because, again, in case you weren't here, clearing Woodfall after you've already cleared another dungeon, in this case he's already cleared Snowhead, skips a cutscene that normally occurs after you beat the temple, because that cutscene will only play if Woodfall is defeated first. But in addition to that, having hookshot lets you skip across the main room right here like this by hookshotting this torch, and then fire arrows lets you unbar the door leading to the boss door. Basically, with like skipping having to like normally in order to light this torch, you won't have fire arrows here, and you have to like transfer the fire from the already lit torch to the center room part of the room where there's a torch in the center.
You just shoot a regular arrow through a torch.
Transfers it to the center, and then you have to transfer it from there, then to the torch that he shot with the fire arrow. So there's like a whole transferring thing going on in order to get the fire to that torch. But with fire arrows, you can just shoot it and light it. And it simplifies everything and saves time.
I guess one thing. Nope. Equips are hard. I guess one thing that I want to mention in Woodfall 2 is that hookshot in the main room of Woodfall to that flaming torch, and then I jumped up to the ledge and grabbed the ledge. That is a quite precise hookshot. It's easy to figure out how to do it. You just got to make sure that you're lined up correctly. But if you are not lined up correctly, then even though you can still hookshot the torch, you will just fall. You'll just fall and be sad.
Good boss fight.
So yeah, good boss fight. Uldoa, you are, man, guys, I forgot to mention going into that fight, but Uldoa is the most difficult boss in this game by a long shot.
5
What'd you say?
hearts. Oh.
5 hearts. I'm getting 5 here to be safe for Wart. I want to be marathon safe for Wart. Assuming I'm not nearly dead by then, I will be skipping the Georg one though.
I was actually gonna start getting 5 hearts too, mostly because I've been going for the double hits on Wart lately, and you take so much additional damage because you're blowing yourself up with bombs in the Wart fight when you're going for the double hits.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if you're going for that too, 5 hearts is a good idea. Wart is far more likely to kill you than Majora ever is. So like after Wart, you don't need any.
Yes.
But...
From here on out, there's only like, I guess I could theoretically die on Gomez if I mess up, because Gomez does 2 hearts a hit, but that's not really a concern. The big concern for death from here on out is Wart. The Wart fight is stressful, to say the least.
Wart isn't necessarily hard if you play it slow death. What makes the Wart fight tricky in a speedrun is just that, like doing the fight quickly. Because here's the thing with the Wart fight. In a speedrun, you're just going to be aiming to kill him as fast as possible, so you're actually going to throw bombs at him whenever he opens his eye. You're not going to clear any of the bubbles when he's surrounded by them in the first phase. And then when you knock him down and initiate the second phase, the room is just littered with bubbles. They're everywhere. So it's very easy to die when you're trying to both quickly clear them and Wart whenever his eye opens. You don't want to miss any cycles. So when the fight is actually pretty easy if you were to take it slowly. When attempting to do it quickly, that's when the fight becomes difficult. Wart is actually a very easy fight if you play it slow. It's only because it's a speedrun that the fight becomes difficult.
Mm-hmm. And it's because as Trev mentioned, I will be blowing myself up with bombs to to be trying to hit Wart when his eye is open through the bubbles. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is a good point in the run to just kind of reintroduce the fact that if you have popped in recently, we're about halfway through now, or we're more than halfway through, but I am HyrulianKnight. I am doing Majora's Mask, any % glitchless speedruns. Yeah, I guess that's all you need to know.
Currently heading to get New Wave Bossa Nova, which is the song that is necessary for entering the Great Bay Temple, which is the temple of this area. Like we mentioned before, he needs all 7 of the Zora eggs. He got 1 in his first trip to Pirate's Fortress. Now here's where having those 3 bottles really comes into play.
So yeah, due to tricks found in the last 9 months or so, I guess in August, skipping Zora eggs, duplicating Zora eggs, is possible in glitched categories. Obviously, this is not a glitched category. We cannot skip Zora eggs, but the point of saying that is you can duplicate Zora eggs, but getting the New Wave Bossa Nova is required in every single category. You cannot enter Great Bay Temple without getting New Wave Bossa Nova. Even
and what you saw right there actually is he did a jump slash against the wall there, and he entered this room from its intended exit. Normally every egg beyond the one in Hookshot room is guarded by a pirate that you have to fight. He skipped the pirate fight by doing that jump slash and entering again in this room's intended exit. He's normally supposed to come from that door over there, and on the other side of that door is the pirate fight. He's actually going to be able to do the same thing for the next egg, too. He's only, out of the 3 eggs he's getting here, and normally you'd have to fight a pirate for all 3, he's only actually going to end up fighting one of the pirates. Like right here, this one's skippable just with that jump. That's it. That skipped the pirate fight. That little jump right there. And they attempted to fix that jump in Majora's Mask 3D. You may notice if you've played Majora's Mask 3D, they put like a giant fence in that spot, and it looks really silly. And you're like, why did they put that there? And it's because we do that jump. Like, I guess they have us to blame for that fence. And the best thing about it is, even though that fence is there, you can still do that jump. It's just more precise. It's very precise, but you can still do it. It's great.
That jump is really cool. That was one of my favorite tricks to learn when I started speedrunning.
Right here.
So you can hop around. You can hop around that pirate. Yeah, I'm shooting it. Just want to be safe. You can hop around it. You can hop around that pirate, but
yeah, the way the pirates work in this game, the mechanics behind them, their vision is mostly just a straight line forward. It's kind of like a small cone outward, like they can see a little bit more to their sides the farther you get from them. But like that pirate there started when he loaded that room, just facing to the right, and you can actually just roll inside out behind her. The way the pirates work, they'll only turn to face you if you walk or back walk while around. It's like they hear you. But the thing is, if you're rolling or side hopping or backflipping, so if you like restrict your movement to those 3 things, roll, side hops, backflips, you can just go right by her. She won't turn towards you, even though you're right next to her. You're actually like almost touching her. She won't turn to face you at all, and you can just go right by her. It's really neat how that works, actually.
Yeah, I probably just should have showed it off, but I thought being safe. It's not an overly difficult set of movements, but I have failed it once recently, so I thought coming into that I might have. And if you fail it, you get caught, and you know, it would be 30 to 45 seconds. So I thought I'd play it safe, but maybe that was the wrong call.
That's understandable. So he's got the 3 eggs from Pirate's Fortress now again, because he has the 3 bottles. He was able to skip any further trips there. He does not need to go back there. He's done. So he's got 4 eggs total. He only needs 3 more, and he's got the 3 bottles. And he's going to go to an area called Pinnacle Rock for the last 3. And Pinnacle Rock is pretty cut and dry. It's just some eels, and the eggs are in their like dens. I guess they eat them. So you gotta kill the eels, take the eggs. That's about it. And once you have all 7, they will actually all hatch, and we will learn a song to access the temple, and that's the last thing we need to do in order to access the temple.
I'm pretty sure I had enough magic, but
that was
again,
that was worthwhile.
Yeah, it was iffy. If I have less than half right here, I always get more, because depending on something that many people don't know, including myself, until about November-ish, if you are right in front of the eel's mouth, so they would eat you, if you do the magic barrier, you can't get eaten. So, depending on how good your swimming is, if you are going to get eaten, it's better to burn extra magic. So if I have less than half magic right here, I always get that extra pot right there, because getting caught getting eaten is not an option.
Yep, and he didn't really, like, it's not something you really think about when you've been running this game for a while, I guess, but he actually, normally when you come to Pinnacle Rock, you actually need to have a seahorse, and the seahorse guides you through that area. It's kind of like, if you've played Ocarina of Time as well, that one has the desert area, and if you take the wrong path, you void and return to the beginning. To get to this area he's in now, he actually had to take a very specific path, otherwise there's void triggers everywhere that bring you back to the beginning of the area if you hit them. But if you know the path, you can just go through without the seahorse guiding you. There's like signs everywhere that even signal where you need to go. So.
Yeah, there are some misleading signs, but it's funny, even before I started speedrunning this game, you know, I've played this game casually many times before last year when I started speedrunning, and I knew that path. Like, that path wasn't something I needed to learn for running. So now we have all of the eggs, and we're just gonna avoid out here to get back as quickly as possible, because our next mission is to get back to the Marine Lab, dump the remaining 3 eggs, learn New Wave Bossa Nova, and then get into Great Bay Temple. That is what we're doing. And Great Bay Temple is actually, I was going to say arguably or possibly, but it's definitely the hardest part of the run.
Yeah, for most glitchless categories it is. I would say for 100% glitchless as well. It is also the hardest part of the run. It has the most kind of unique tricks going on. A lot of them are very difficult, or have small frame windows, or both. So generally small frame windows would lead to difficult tricks, but they are fairly difficult. It's very hard to get a perfect Great Bay Temple. Many runs die there in this category for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, from a spectator standpoint, probably the coolest part of the run to watch. So, assuming he gets a lot of the tricks, it should be really good to see.
Mm-hmm. And I guess just one thing I want to note is my current PB. I actually lost more than 2 minutes off of my gold splits in Great Bay Temple. It's just, and it wasn't even like I failed this one big trick that cost me a minute. It was just a bunch of little things kept adding up, because Great Bay Temple is just full of a bunch of little itty bitty time losses that are, you know, it's a hard temple. So hopefully it goes well and I can show off some of the cool tricks in it. I have... Great Bay Temple is probably also my most practiced section of the run.
As it should be.
So hopefully it goes well. Before this run started, I was actually practicing Great Bay Temple. There is inverted stone tower can be a little difficult if you factor in twin mold too, with early Igor and then twin mold. But I mean, Great Bay is in a league of its own in terms of difficulty in this category. For
sure. A lot of the runs, like, to get past Great Bay Temple, that's generally when you can breathe a sigh of relief. Like, Stone Tower has some things, like Hyrulian mentioned, but for the most part, it pales in comparison and is very consistent, I'd say. Very little causes huge time loss in Stone Tower.
Yeah, and just to kind of bounce off of what Trev said about if you get a run past Great Bay, you're kind of you're sighing, you know, in relief, because you're gonna be good to PB. I was a minute ahead coming out of PB yesterday, and I jumped off the cliff climbing Stone Tower. So, I mean, the run's not free after that, but Great Bay really has 2 or 3 tricks that are harder than most everything else you do in the run. One of them One of the hard tricks is right at the start of the run. I mean, right at the start of the temple, in the second room. So hopefully we get that.
That's probably like the best one just to see as a spectator too. So, I mean, and like if you fail it, the fastest thing to do is keep attempting it, unless you just want
to. Oh, I will be doing this trick until I get it. The trick later in the temple, which I actually feel is harder, the bonk water wheel.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I actually think that one's harder. That one is a one-shot thing. My backup is pretty solid though, maybe like 10 to 15 seconds slower, but I think that one is the hardest trick in the run.
Certainly. So many cutscenes here, dude. Great Bay has, unfortunately, the New Wave boss and another cutscene, and then this turtle cutscene. Both rather long to get into the temple. I mean, actually...
Yeah, and then... Oh, I was just gonna say, right after this cutscene, we have a second cutscene. Immediately after.
This area and
what were you gonna say?
are the worst for getting into the respective temples. Akana's not nearly as bad in terms of cutscenes. It's got like the one after you go, so that's it.
Oh, and Ikana Castle is a really cool section of the run. We skip an entire half of Ikana Castle. Good job pushing that button.
Did you learn the bonk strat for?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's really easy. I'm way more nervous about it than I should be because I have really only failed it once out of 50 attempts and runs, but it's really easy, but it's also really easy to mess up, if that makes sense. If you rise out of the water too early or too late, you won't get it. But we'll show it off. It's something that we'll show off right away. And if I fail it, the backup is honestly cooler.
Great Bay Temple is going to have a lot of difficult tricks. You're probably going to want to concentrate during those because a lot of them have... It's very easy to fail most of them. The failure is... Like, a lot of them don't even save that much time in the grand scheme of things when you really think about it. But they're all worth it to go for regardless anyway, obviously, so we're trying to be as fast as possible. But just a lot of the tricks in this temple are very punishing.
I mean, this first one here that I'm going to do right now saves 20, 30 seconds.
It's really cool looking. It's like pretty self-explanatory too. I don't even need to explain it. So like you can just watch this, and you can understand what's going on, and you can probably appreciate why this one could potentially be difficult. You're gonna see he's gonna get on top of this thing, and normally to cross this room, he has to push a yellow turnkey at the bottom of the water, and that would cause a water pillar to rise. But he's gonna jump on top of this thing and put on Goron Mask. As long as he gets this curl right here, then he can roll off of it to cross the room without ever raising that water pillar. So that was really nice first try, saves like 20 seconds. And then
yeah, that was very
right
smooth.
after this, you're going to see another trick. He's going to press target in this water tunnel. You're not going to see that, but he did press target. And when he releases target here, he's going to revert his camera angle. But unfortunately, he was a little bit too far away from the wall.
But that's okay. Like I said, the backup is cooler than the...
You can just take off Zora and put on Zora.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. This backup is really cool.
Yep, so now for the backup, he's going to get on top of here and put on Zora. So that, like, when you put on Zora, Link is a little bit higher in the water initially, so he can grab ledges you normally wouldn't be able to grab. And this backup right here, he's going to line up at a certain angle and dive into the water, and he's going to hit that, and it'll bounce him up at a weird angle that just gets him up here. Normally you need ice arrows to access this room, but that bonk and the bonk you went for previously both allow you to access the room early.
Yeah, like we were saying before, that bonk strat is not overly difficult, but my timing was just, like, it's not hard to figure out how it works and to get it yourself, but my timing was just ever so off, and I missed it, so, but that's okay. We gotta show off that cooler cooler move
Yeah.
there.
So like doing all of this stuff really, it saves backtracking because again you needed ice arrows for that. So not having to backtrack once you have ice arrows saves a good amount of time because you can just progress to things later in the dungeon instead of having to come back when you. Because like right now he needs a key first of all to even get to ice arrows, but the key is in this room, so he would have had to go through all of that anyway. And so not having to go through all of these rooms twice saves a good deal of time. And right there, you saw that there's a hole in the wall there, and you can just jump to it. Like, you have to do the jump a specific way to have full speed when you hit the... But, like, normally you have to fight a mini-boss to get that boss key, and it's just placed so poorly you can just jump to it. It's actually insane. That it's nothing special about that at all. It's just a jump. To get the boss key and skip an entire mini-boss.
It is rather... So you do need to target and line up your angle to make sure you get it, but...
You should refill your health.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna get all of these pots because I am going in full health. Okay, that's good. Okay, you.
Alright.
Okay, so now we have Wart Fight. I'm gonna play it safer once the first phase of it is over. If you want to explain what I'm doing,
Yeah,
Trev.
so basically this first phase of Wart is just him floating around and he's gonna open his eye occasionally. He's only vulnerable when he opens his eye. And what he's going to do is the first cycle of when he opens his eye is always the same. It always happens at the exact same time. So he's going to pull the bomb, right before it explodes, the eye will open, he'll hit it. And he needs to hit Wart with 2 more bombs, and at that point Wart will fall down, and all the bubbles that are still active will also fall down, and they actually do target you, so they'll bounce around the room, in general targeting Link. And at that point, the fight gets a little bit hectic, so that's right here. So now all the bubbles are just everywhere. This is why he's going to be dropping bombs and throwing death nuts to clear all of the bubbles as fast as he can. Because he just wants to get into a position where he has enough time to pull bow and start shooting Wart. You really don't want to miss too many cycles of Wart opening his eye. So like, most of the bubbles are cleared right now. Whenever he gets the chance, he's going to shoot Wart with his eye. He's still opening his hand and closing it randomly. So now all the bubbles are cleared. Just stand and shoot. Depending on how fast you gain control and how much distance you can get between the bubbles, you can actually start shooting him before all the bubbles are cleared, and then you can clear more of them in between cycles. But it's pretty difficult to do. That was still a fairly solid fight. It's really hard to get a fast.
Yeah, that was actually one of the that I would have been very pleased with that fight in a run. The only slight bummer was that I got hit by bubbles when I tried to shoot him the first time, but even still, to hit the pot. But even still, that was a pretty good fight.
You get the best item in the game from it, ice arrows. So ice arrows are actually useful exactly twice in this run, and one of them is gonna be right here. I mean, they're necessary exactly twice. They're helpful 4 times, but they're necessary exactly twice. Like, there's no bypassing them in 2 instances.
So that was what I meant earlier when I said that I'll shoot the Octo-Rock and it'll go right through him and hit the water behind him.
If you target him, it never misses. Never.
Never?
It can technically miss if you shoot at the same time he shoots you. The shot will absorb it, but that can also happen when you're not targeting.
That sounds nice. That happens to me seriously every single time I shoot at him there. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I'm going to be getting on the ladder. I'm actually climbing the ladder right now in this cutscene. I did not get on the ladder. Okay, I missed an input then. But you can actually get on and climb that ladder during that cutscene to save. It only saves the time of climbing the ladder, but it's pretty cool.
Ice arrows are worse than in the 3D, but like you can only shoot them in specific spots in the water. Oh, this is a neat trick. So he's gonna backflip and side hop as part of the setup there. And what he's gonna do, what he just did basically, is he canceled his swim by pressing B or releasing A. You can actually do either. But either one will cancel the swim. And if you cancel your swim right as you're exiting the water, Link will kind of pop up a little bit in a state where he can grab ledges. Normally when you're swimming, you're not in a state of being able to grab ledges. You can't grab ledges while swimming. But if you cancel the swim just in time, as you are exiting the water, you'll be kind of popped out of the water in a state where you can grab the ledge, and you'll grab ledges that are a little bit higher normally than you'd be able to grab just swimming, like just sitting in the water.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite tricks in this whole run. And one thing I want to note with that, if any of you want to try any of this yourself, you see, like, I learned a lot of the tricks in this game from watching Trev Kerson's PB. And he does 3 side hops into the wall there. I don't know, clearly I was just doing something wrong, but it would fail just randomly if, you know, maybe a quarter of the time doing three side hops, but doing 4 side hops like I did, it never fails. So that's just, if you're struggling with that, that may be something that...
It has to do with the timing of your rolls.
Can help you.
If it fails, it's normally your hitbox being pushed by the tech type to some extent.
Yeah, but it's, again, just something that never ever happens. I never fail it when I do 4 side hops, and I did when I do 3. I don't know.
Coming up.
So this is what I think is the hardest trick in the run.
Yeah, so what he's going to do is there's a water wheel coming up in the room right here, and normally you have to stop the water wheel in order to gain access to the next room. But if he jumps out of the water, he can actually get onto the water wheel as it's spinning. So right here, he's going to jump slash, land on it as it's spinning, ride it all the way around. You actually have to turn human while on the water wheel because Zora is too tall, and you'll get crushed underneath the ceiling when it gets to its highest point. But that was really good. Just ride it all the way around to access this room without ever having to stop it. It saves a considerable amount of time. And then right here.
Yeah, that's a really hard trick. It's probably not the hardest trick in the run. I talk it up, but it is... I don't know what would be harder, but the only reason I say that is because I don't typically fail it anymore. After I learned that if you pull your fins before, you get a few extra frames to do the jump slash. I don't know what would be harder than that, but that is...
Yep. So what he's just done is he's been pushing these green turnkeys, and he actually changed the water flow earlier when he was pushing the red ones. When he went back to the early room in the temple, and he pushed the red and yellow turnkeys, he actually changed the direction of the water flow in the temple, and that allowed him to access those rooms. And it's just so that you can push the additional green turnkeys, and pushing all the green turnkeys lets water flow through the green pipes to reach this room, which is the room with the boss door. And by doing that, getting the water all the way to this room, you can activate that water pillar there. Until you have the water flow here, pushing the switch does nothing. And so when you push the switch, the water flow will come up and allow you to reach the boss door. You can actually jump right into it there to get across on this first cycle. Normally when you jump into water pillars, they like kind of push you out, but for some reason that one pushes you up. It's odd. So now the Georg fight. Only thing notable about this fight is it's a little bit different on the Japanese version because you can only use the Zora magic barrier when you're actively like holding A and doing a full speed swim, whereas on English you can actually use magic barrier whenever. So he's going to be stunning Georg when he charges at him. Georg has 2 attacks technically, but they both start with you or him charging at you. And when Georg charges, he's going to stun him right when he's about to hit the platform, and that'll get Georg's model kind of up against this central platform in the middle. And you can actually stun lock him there. So you're going to see that right here. So he's going to wait. And as soon as he's waiting for Georg to charge, shoots him right there. He's going to loop around. And what he's going to try to do is he's going to start hitting him with magic barrier. And Georg's going to go up, and you can actually follow him up, then down, then up, then down. As long as you follow him perfectly, you can keep Zora's model stuck against Georg's and stun lock him by just swimming into him with magic barrier on. And the exact same thing is going to happen in the second phase. Like, literally nothing changes by the smaller fish being summoned because you can just kill them easily with Zora magic barrier, and the exact same thing applies here.
And one thing to note is that right after the first phase there... Oh, well that wasn't good. Right after the first phase... Okay, I'm just gonna get out of the water before I get eaten. Never mind. So that was bad. I swam through him rather than hitting him again. I messed up the stun lock, but that's okay. I was distracted by how well I did on the first phase in getting the fast fight. I actually made it back onto the platform after hitting him the 3 times in phase 1. And that that makes it so that you start the second phase on top of on ground, whereas otherwise you would start in the water and then he swims at you faster and it saves time. But not when you get...
Yeah, basically Georg has like 2 kind of modes. When you're on the platform in the middle, it's like his normal mode and he'll just charge the platform occasionally. But if you're in the water, he just like makes a beeline and tries to eat you. And if you're in the water at the start of the second phase, unless you get out extremely quickly, it's hard to do that consistently. But he'll wait a second and then engage that mode where he's like chasing you in the water, trying to eat you. And if he never enters that mode, then he'll enter his mode where he's just going to charge the platform sooner, and that's what you want for the stun lock. So, yeah, that's about it for that one.
Yeah, Georg's a pretty uninteresting fight, actually.
Not 100%. 100% Georg is the most interesting fight.
Oh, the 100% Georg fight is super cool. 100% with glitches.
So that's 3 of the dungeons, and again, all you need to do to access the final boss in this game is beat all 4 of the dungeons. So there's only 1 left, and Hyrulian has already done most of the prep for that dungeon. He already has Gibdo Mask, he already cleared the well for Mirror Shield, and what Mirror Shield allows you to do is finish Akana Castle, which is the next step in the prep. Akana Castle gives you the song that lets you access the dungeon. So that's the final thing, is Akana Castle now. And that will allow him to climb Stone Tower with Elegy. And then what he wants is he's actually going to want... Like, you notice this entire time, it's currently, I believe, second night, actually. You can, again, just like in first cycle, you can only enter the clock tower on night of the 3rd day. So, at some point, I believe in Stone Tower, we're going to be Song of Double Timing to 3rd night, so that when we finish Stone Tower, it's already past midnight and the clock tower is open. Because you don't want to have to wait to get into that final boss fight. Again, if it has to be midnight on the 3rd day, or on the 3rd night, you want it to already be at that point when you want it to be, like when you go there. You don't want to have to wait at all. So Song of Double Timing the 3rd night, so that it's past midnight already when you beat Stone Tower, is going to be the ideal thing to do here.
One thing worth noting with the arrow switch covered in ice, you actually don't need to hit the eye. All you need to do is unfreeze the ice. So that's why I was able to shoot the ice from the side there, and it still activated the switch.
Alright, so you cross that room. Normally that room is cleared by raising the ceiling, but you can actually jump slash on top of the ceiling. And because of the extra height from the ceiling, just get onto the platform with the switch actually without having to use like a Deku flower to help you with that. So that saves quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that room is really annoying, the intended way.
And so now what he's going to do is he's going to use a damage boost to circumvent the rest of Akana Castle. Normally, you'd have to, I believe, walk around here, and you need to hit a switch at the front, and that gives a light source to a side room, and then you have to go through that side in order to access the hole in the ceiling. But you can just damage boost over this fence here. You can damage boost over the fence in order to access that hole, and that by using the powder keg on that little crack in the floor for the hole, you can.
Just gonna fix my camera.
Yep. You can then provide a light source to the central room, and that just lets you get rid of the sun block that blocks the E-Ghost fight.
Oh, we took the Gwei with us.
Neat little thing there actually is when you shoot the powder keg with fire arrows, for some reason it just loads the next area for some reason, instead of letting the cut.
Not always though.
It's weird. I don't like. It usually does.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't sometimes, but.
Yeah, you normally skip the cutscene, like I did there. Sometimes it doesn't happen and you take damage,
yep.
But we got it fast there.
So another instance of power crouch stab being used. He did the jump slash with the Deku stick again, and that is going to allow all his crouch stabs to do 4 damage as opposed to just 1 or 2. That's going to kill these guys much faster. Something notable about these guys, actually, is that one of the most effective ways to kill them other than this is actually with Deku Bubbles. Something not a lot of people know is that these guys take more damage than is normal from Deku Bubbles, both the soldiers and Egos himself, and they get stunned by spins, so like a really effective easy strategy to kill these guys is if you don't have power crouch down. I believe that's what English, 80% glitchless does, if it's ever played on that. You can just keep re-stunning the bosses and hitting them with a free Deku Bubble, and they never will get a chance to attack.
Okay, hit me.
Oh, you got the Georg heart container.
Yeah, I did that. I don't like to enter this fight with 2 hearts.
Well, okay. You probably... There is the heart... there's a heart drop right before the fight on the pot on the side. And that would have been faster than getting the heart container. It would bring you up to 3, or 3.5. If you got hit one of the soldiers, you could get to 3.
Because you take half or 3/4 heart damage in the room where you go on the ceiling at the start of Ikana Castle. You take damage from the damage boost with the bomb, and then you sometimes take damage from the powder keg. So 2 hearts was not.
Yeah, but there's the heart before, and then there's also the heart from in the actual ceiling room. There's a heart as well.
I mean, I also could have theoretically gotten the fairy by the Ikana Owl, and that would have been faster than getting the heart container, and would have got me to full health as well. But I didn't do that. I don't know. I was just thinking, okay, I have 2 hearts left. I'm gonna.
It should only be half in the ceiling.
I normally do.
Hit twice.
Yeah, I missed the side hop. I do normally skip the Georg heart container, but marathon safe, Trev. Marathon safe.
There were other marathon safe strats that I think would have been a little bit faster, but now you have more from Majora, so that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess now we have this song here, and what this song does, if you are, unfamiliar with it, is it allows you to leave copies of yourself to hold down switches to move the platforms, so that you can access Stone Tower Temple. And you actually don't need to hit all of the switches. The way to get up in Glitchless is pretty cool, actually.
Alright, so another Death Warp to exit that area quickly. Normally you actually cannot play Song of Soaring in that room. You have to leave that room entirely, so the Death Warp saves quite a bit of time. Not only, Song of Soaring itself is slower than the Death Warp, but also having to leave the room before you can even play it would be substantially slower. So he's going to head to Stone Tower now, and this is the final obstacle before the temple. He needs to climb up it, and without Elegy, the song he just got, he'd be unable to, which is why it's important to get that. But he's going to use Zora here, actually. So you can get up to a maximum of 4 statues. You get 1 statue for every form of Link, and they're all independent of each other. So he's going to use the Zora statue right here with Elegy to push down this switch. And that's going to be the only Sora statue he ever uses, just because when you put down the statue and when you press the switch, basically, there's a cutscene for the block to move into place, and if that statue is ever removed, then there's another cutscene for that block to move back to its original location. So by using a Zora statue and then never using a Zora statue again, you never have to watch that block move again.
One thing worth noting is that, yes, you do have 4 statues, but the Deku Link the Deku Link statue is... Deku himself does not have enough weight to hold down one of these switches. So if you were to leave a copy of Deku Link using the song, you would not be able to hold down the switch. So you actually only have 3 copies that you can leave for climbing this part.
Yeah, the Deku statue is actually useless. It doesn't do anything. Pretty good. So you have up to...
Is there any situation in which case it's useful? Like, anything it can do? I don't think so.
You can get enemies caught on it.
Oh yeah, so good.
The Goron statue's bigger, so I think it would be better at that also. So it doesn't do anything well.
So we played the song to leave a statue at the switch below us, and then we don't need to play a song here. We only needed to step on this switch, so that block moved. So the block behind it, the one we did play leave the statue on, can get through. And then we're gonna come onto this switch and play. Come onto this block and play the song again. Because what this does is it moves the human Link statue, and when you move the human Link statue, since that one was the one holding down the switch, this block will actually move back to where it's supposed to go. So it allows us to skip getting the other 2 statues.
He's gonna do something similar right here, where he's gonna play Elegy on top of this switch. Then instead of like making a bridge with all 3 blocks, he's just gonna get onto the first block he brought over and play Elegy again to take it off the switch and ride it the same exact way. And it skips like having to like watch all these block cutscenes make this really long bridge. Instead, you just ride the block back to where you need to go.
I think that means that I'd have to count, but do we play Elegy of Emptiness more than we play even Song of Soaring? Is this the most useful song in the game?
I don't think so. You play Song of Soaring. So Elegy, you use 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 more. 8 total for Elegy, I believe. Song of Soaring, you have to play more than 8 times. There's no way you don't play Song of Soaring less than 8 times.
Okay, Elegy of Emptiness is the 2nd most useful song in this game. So now we are in Stone Tower Temple. I say that though, but if you are playing with glitches, you don't actually have to use Elegy of Emptiness. Even in 100%, you just have to get the song, but you don't ever use it.
Yep, every use of it can be circumvented in the glitch category. It is actually used 0 times. You never use it for anything, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the last 2 uses of it. I actually prefer not using it because it is a really long song with a long cutscene. It's rather unnecessary, but
yeah.
You have to go on
Yeah, one thing worth...
because that switch is a little bit bigger, and then any other statue besides Deku can push the normal size switches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I want to mention now is that, and this is just referencing something that Trev said earlier, but we want it to be midnight when we're done with Twin Mold. We want it to turn midnight sometime during or before the Twin Mold fight. We do not want it to turn midnight after. So right here, I'm actually going to make it I'm actually going to make it night 3. Because assuming I don't mess anything up in the rest of the temple, I will be able to beat the rest of the temple and get to the clock tower, which is all I have to do.
You're also going to finally see more use of these bomb shoes. We didn't mention it, but he also used these bomb shoes in order to damage himself and eventually finish the Death Warp in the Egos room in Akana Castle. But he's also using the bomb shoes to reach all of these Armos without having to go into lava. And there are a few more Armos statues behind the sun block, and in order to access them, you'd have to like bomb the floor and create the light in the openings to remove and use Mirror Shield to remove the sunblock, but using a bomb tube, you can just let it run behind and hit the Armos to get the key. So you can open that door. And then there's another key right here in this room. If he gets the line up correctly, he can bounce right up to it, get a perfect dive. Get up there.
that dive is way more difficult than it should be. There's a very solid visual cue for when you should start swimming up.
Yeah, it is kind of precise. The floor there is much high. It's like raised really high for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Like, as a casual player, I mean, if you don't know about Zora high grabs, I mean, that can be a very difficult key to get if you are a casual player of this game. Heck, it can be a difficult key to get if you're a speedrunner.
This is a really nice room. By that, I mean this room is awful. You have to carry the light from around the entire room using these mirrors. The enemies that he killed right at the beginning are going to keep respawning. As long as he's fast enough, he'll be able to carry the light and get it onto the sunblock before this guy pushes him, but it nearly did, as you saw. It actually would have pushed him out of the light there, so he got the sunblock just in time. That room can be really annoying, and it can be a big source of time loss if you mess up. Now, something you're going to see here is he's actually trying to avoid using these gusts. Flying around as Deku can be a little bit slow. So what you can do is you can actually damage boost right onto this final gust with the bomb and Goron. And once you're on top of it, and this only works in the Japanese version actually, you can put on Deku and just backflip or side hop in it, and you will get the flowers and just use it to finish the room. Saves actually only like 3 or 4 seconds overall, believe it or not, but still a little bit of time save. And then...
And every time save counts.
Ice arrows being useful right here. So when you use ice arrows on this boss, it actually does damage and freezes him. So you get the ice arrow damage and you get a chance to attack him again at the same time. So it just lets you finish this fight in just like 2 cycles. So like there's 1 cycle and then you're just gonna freeze him again. And 1 more attack will kill. So it makes that fight extremely easy and quick. And then the only other use for ice arrows is really gonna be on the twin mold fight, but we'll explain why when we get there, because we're not going to be using Giant's Mask. Giant's Mask is quite a bit slower.
Done optimally, Giant's Mask can be really, really fast.
Well, it can be... It's comparable to having only one of the elemental arrows. If you have both the elemental arrows, it's better to use them.
But using the Giant's Mask strat, you need to get really good twin mold patterns in order for it to be any sort of fast. Yeah. But as he said, since we do have both elemental arrows, fire and ice, we will be able to skip using Giant's Mask.
So he has light arrows, and now he just wants to invert the temple. Something notable, it's a difference between the English and the Japanese version, is the Japanese version has no switches to move the block that's in front of the red crystal that you could shoot that lets you invert the temple. There's no way to move that without coming back over here, so he has to hookshot back over to this side. Thankfully, you can reach the hookshot pillar to use kind of as like the middleman, I guess, and get over here. And then you can move the block with Elegy and shoot it from over here. So English would actually save a little bit of time there, because there's just 3 switches on the other side that let you move the blocks, but those don't exist on the Japanese version. You have to come back over to this side. And upon shooting it with a light arrow, or hitting it with hot spring water, the temple inverts. I guess we can talk about that actually, because it was considered being allowed for glitchless. It did come to a vote because it was questionable, but you can actually invert the temple in this game. Not only with light arrows, but spring water and hot spring water dumped onto that switch will activate it and invert the temple. It's not...
And not just that switch, any light arrow activated, like sunblock. So you do have to be at a certain height for it to happen. And the reason to that is because when you dump the water out, it falls, and you need when the animation for dumping the water out to be over when you.
Yeah, it can't activate the sunblock while the cutscene for dumping out the water is still going. It has to finish first. An easy place to see this for yourself, though, is when you first enter Stone Tower, like regular Stone Tower, not inverted one, if you wanted to try this, just bring like a bottle of spring water. It doesn't actually even need to be hot. It works with both hot and regular spring water. Bring it into Stone Tower, enter from the normal entrance, and then just go into the room immediately on the right. There's a sunblock there. You can actually activate that one with spring water without doing anything extra. just dump it there. It'll work. A lot of them require a little bit of extra stuff to get you high enough, but that one has a raised platform, so you can dump it there and it'll work. So right here, this is the trick called Early Igor. He needs to kill the Igor from here to spawn the chest, and this skips getting a key, and also allows him to just get up there sooner. Like, it just skips a lot of movement and getting a key, because he can actually hookshot that chest from down here. But before he goes up there, he's actually going to duck into this room behind him because he needs the boss key as well. So that chest being there is going to be very useful, and that was a really good early Igor. The shots are actually kind of precise because of the angle. A lot of the Armos' body is invulnerable, so hitting them is really good.
So I like how I tried to, if those bubbles hit you, those flying skulls hit you, you can't use your sword for a while, which is obviously a bad thing coming into this fight. And I try, if you hit them with your shield, they lose the ability to curse you like that. So I tried to hit both of them with the shield, but the second one did not want to get hit, and then as soon as I went away, it ran up.
You would think your shield might keep you invulnerable, but I had one hit me right through my shield. I walked up to him with my shield out and got hit with it. It was fantastic.
And that was a pretty solid fight. I could have maneuvered a little closer to the door where the boss key is, but I mean, those were all really fast hits and didn't take any damage. So
yeah,
that was a
that
good
boss
fight.
can be fairly difficult if you don't know how to control it, I guess. It does do 2 damage every time it hits you, so it can kill you pretty quickly. But the only thing you need to do is shoot it with a light arrow. That'll remove all the keys. And then the way Gomez's AI works is whenever she gets a certain distance from you, she'll always lunge at you, which she'll get within that distance when you're shooting the light arrow, pretty much always. So then she'll just charge at you, you can crouch stab her, and then you just repeat. It's really easy when you get her in that pattern and understand that pattern. Now that he has the boss key, he doesn't need anything else, he can just go straight to the boss, so he needs to hookshot that chest. It is kind of precise, so you need to line it up. If you're aiming at the right spot, you can just hit a corner of the chest, use it to get up there.
That took too long. It is one of the more precise hook shots in that you do in any category of this game. And the really frustrating thing with the hook shot in this game on some of those more precise ones is that there are times when the hook shot reticule isn't even visible, but you can actually still hook shot something. And there are times when the hook shot reticule is visible and you can't hook shot what you're trying to hook shot. So in both cases it can be misleading and you just need to know where to aim. So now Twin Mole.
So the Twin Mole fight is notable. He first of all, he skipped Giant's Mask. That chest on the bridge earlier was Giant's Mask, and that is one way of fighting this boss, because it turns you... Well, it actually does not make you very big. You can explain that during the cutscene. But the Giant's Mask does not do what it is advertised to do. So, without Giant's Mask, the other way to fight this boss is actually using arrows. And notably, the 2 Twin Molds are different colors. So there's a blue Twin Mold and a red Twin Mold. The blue Twin Mold actually takes additional damage from fire arrows, and the red Twin Mold actually takes additional damage from ice arrows. So fire and ice arrows' normal damage value is 4, but against the opposite colored Twin Mold, it does 6. So with 20 health, that actually turns it from a 5-arrow fight into a 4, or in the case of blue Twin Mold, he actually hit blue Twin Mold with a bomb at the beginning, and that bomb is predictable and easy to get every time, because out of the cutscene, the Twin Molds have the same pattern every time, so you can actually guaranteed get that bomb on blue Twin Mold at the start of every fight. So with 1 bomb doing 2 damage, and 3 fire arrows, that turns it to exactly 20 health, killing him, and then you just need 4 ice arrows.
Although the funny thing is, I actually did not get the bomb hit, so I needed an extra arrow hit on Twin Mold.
Busy explaining.
Yeah, I threw it too far to the right, which was my fault, but that's okay.
Yeah, so now he's just got red Twin Mold, cleaning him up with arrows. Notably, when you're fighting this as Giant's Mask, you can actually hit both their head and their tail, but when you're using arrows, you're only on their tail. When 1 Twin Mold is dead, the second one actually gets a bit faster, so the timing becomes different. That was pretty good. He actually got 3 arrows hits there, so he only needs 1 more. The next one, Twin Mold will die.
So terrible blue twin mold, but amazing red twin mold. So kind of made up for it to make for a, we'll call it a par.
And I can
blue was
I can
really
kind of
bad,
explain
but
what
red
Giant's
was
Mask
good.
does now. So a lot of people who played this game, when they get Giant's Mask, they think it makes you really big. Giant's Mask does not change Link's size whatsoever. It does nothing of the sort. It does basically very little to Link. When you put on Giant's Mask, instead of making Link big, it instead teleports you to an alternative Twin Mold arena that was invisible, and it's above the one that you fight the big Twin Molds on. This alternative Twin Mold arena is identical to the one below, except that it's much smaller and has smaller Twin Molds on it that share the big Twin Mold's health. So it's alternate Twin Molds that share a health pool with the big Twin Molds. In addition, it makes Link's movement speed slower so that it seems like you're this big hulking giant, but it's really just you got slower. And it turns the camera angle to be lower so that like looks like you're looking up at Link to give you this like it's all to make this illusion that you're bigger. You're not actually bigger. When you put on Giant's Mask only works in Twin Mold's arena because it doesn't actually make Link big. It teleports you to an alternative arena. And so because it does that, it can't work on any other map because it's only programmed to teleport you to this alternative arena in the Twin Mold area. That's all it does.
Can you access that map like if you use
You can. I've used cheats
access...
and I've just hovered up to the invisible arena before. You can stand on it and everything. It's still invisible, but without Giant's Mask it doesn't become visible. But you can like hover up and stand on it. The collision is still there. And the big Twin Molds will actually follow you up there because the big Twin Molds are on the lower arena and the small Twin Molds are on the upper arena. But without Giant's Mask, the smaller Twin Molds don't spawn. The bigger ones are still the active ones if you don't use Giant's Mask. So the bigger ones actually follow you up there.
Oh, that's actually really funny. So now we are ready to go finish the game. We have done all of the dungeons. We have gotten the boss remains from each dungeon, which allows us... So the way that this final cutscene works is that you can activate a Giant's cutscene. You can come up here and play Oath to Order at any point after you get Oath to Order, which only requires you to have beaten one dungeon. But in the case that you haven't beaten all the dungeons, it brings you to a cutscene where the giants fail to hold up the moon. So you need to have all 4 mask remains in your inventory in order to trigger the proper cutscene that stops the moon and then, warps you to the final area of the game. Another interesting thing to note is that if you don't have Ocarina in your inventory, even if you have all 4 mask remains, and this can be accomplished, you can get Ocarina out of your inventory by overwriting that slot with a bottle. And if you don't have Ocarina in your inventory when this cutscene plays, the game actually soft locks. So in order to get to the moon, you need 5 things in your inventory. You need the 4 boss remains, and you need Ocarina in your inventory. Luckily, because this is a glitchless category, we don't have to worry about soft locking the game like that. But that's just a cool little tidbit like that. Cool little tidbit to know.
Yeah, and like, runners and people who watch it often talk about something called moon warp, and that's just like people looking for a way to circumvent needing all of the boss remains in order to access the final boss. But currently, even in glitch categories, there is no way to reach the moon without all 4 boss remains. There is a theoretical wrong warp, I think using a 0th day wrong warp, that would load the Deku trial on the moon, the Adalwa one, but it crashes. So that's unfortunate. And then there's also a theoretical credits warp, but that one requires that you be on the 10th day, and we don't know any way to do that without hacking. Like I think it was actually Fox who found that one, and he just used he just hacked in 10th day.
Yeah, so this game is built on a 3-day clock, but there are actually you can actually make it different days. So the game counter for what day it is can be manipulated either through glitches or by hacking. You can actually make it 0th or 4th day with glitches, and they can be done pretty easily. And then, as Trev was saying, with hacking, you can change the day counter even more to go up even to 10th day and beyond. Again, not stuff that you need to know for a glitchless category, but one thing that I do want to say with that is when they set out to make this game, they had originally planned on it being a 7-day cycle. That was their original intention, but it proved to be too expansive and too difficult for the N64 to handle, which is why we have the 3 days that we do have. So, I mean, that's
something
cool.
notable, like you can access the 0th and 4th days without hacks, like you can just do glitches in the game. And when you access 4th day, the moon actually reverts to a position farther than any of the normal 3 days. Like the moon on 4th day is extremely far away. You can barely see it. If you look into the sky, it's basically a little speck. And I believe that is probably the position that they intended to have it on the very first day in the original 7-day cycle. So it started much, much further away.
So one cool thing about this cutscene, if you play it during Goron, if you play this cutscene while you're Goron Link, there's something weird that can happen where the cutscene plays and Goron Link just doesn't have a face. So try to watch for it because it's quite funny. I'll be pointing it out when I get to it, but it's pretty funny.
It's a solid cutscene.
Yeah, it's better to be Goron into this cutscene, but also because it saves a little bit of time, but also because he doesn't have a face and it's funny. So it's coming up right here. It's nearly here. Right there. He just doesn't have a face. Okay, so now we have the final area of the game. We have saved all of the giants. The giants have held up the moon, but it has been revealed that the Skull Kid is not the real villain of the game. The real villain of the game is Majora's Mask, and we need to go inside the moon to fight Majora's Mask. So, here we go. The fight is done in 3 phases. So the first phase, the mask is just kind of running, just kind of flying around, and we're gonna stun it with Zora fins and damage it with light arrows to get through that phase really quickly. The second phase is he'll grow arms and legs, and he'll be running around rather quickly. He can kind of juke us out a little bit, dodge our arrows. Hopefully he's kind to us. But if we knock Majora down, we're gonna damage the second form and the third form with power crouch stabs. And then the third phase, we're gonna try to get in a stun lock.
Yeah, Majora is fairly RNG heavy. If everything goes perfectly, every phase is really, really fast. But in almost every case, there's something that can go wrong. In fact, in all 3 phases, there is. It's usually attributed to the remains, because again, once he gets the damage onto the first phase mask here, those boss remains that went to the walls are going to come out and attack you. And killing them is really slow. Like, you could make the fight a lot safer and consistent by killing them, but that's a waste of time, because you don't need to kill them to beat the boss, so obviously the speed don't. So they are floating around randomly. And something notable about the remains is they only attack you if they're loaded, and they're only loaded if they're either right next to you or you're looking at them. So it's kind of a case of if you don't look at them, they don't attack you for the most part. Right here, he's just firing the fins at him. He's gonna shoot an arrow at him, light arrow. All the elemental arrows do the same damage, but light arrow is actually good for 2 reasons. He actually wants to run out of magic by the second phase, and light arrows uses more. And light arrow The final boss, the final phase of this boss doesn't dodge light arrows, so already having it equipped is good.
It doesn't dodge light arrows even if you don't have enough magic to actually do a
like
light
you can
arrow?
fire a regular arrow from your bow because you don't have magic, but he still won't dodge it. Like all it does is check the item you have equipped, and if it's light arrows, he won't dodge it, even if it's a normal arrow. So right now the remains are active. Incarnation just runs around. It only actually has one real attack. Its other things it does are like moonwalking and taunting you and doing various things. He actually got the attack right away though, but for the most part, Incarnation doesn't have an attack. But the remains are causing him grief right now, getting rather poor luck.
I did not mean to shoot a second arrow there. That was a bad decision.
Mass jumping, taunting. He's actually getting the attack. Once you get him down, you just want to keep crouch stabbing him again using that stick power crouch stab. If you get lucky, you can actually knock him down multiple times in a row. But it's not what is happening here. It's getting rather unfortunate luck. If Incarnation gets out of control, it can sometimes be hard to regain that control.
Yeah, that is definitely the most frustrating phase of the fight.
Here's Wrath. So Wrath is actually 100% consistent because you can stun lock him, if not for the remains. Once Wrath is stun locked, Wrath can't do anything, but the remains could actually bail him out. So you don't want the remains to shoot Hyrulian once the stun lock has been done. That is the only thing other than him this time. 10 hits, so that's 5. More.
Good Wrath fight there. I mean, decent. I got shot right away, but the stun lock was good. And there you go, guys. That is Majora's Mask. Any percent glitchless run. Yeah, there we go. I think I beat my estimate. Was that I think that was a 2. Okay, I definitely made some errors, but all in all, for my very first time appearing in a marathon, that was not terrible.
That was a very good marathon.
I beat my estimate, and I'm very, very happy with that. So we've saved the world, guys. We did it. So now we have now we get this pretty rainbow. That was very fun. That was very fun. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to play during this. This was fun. Am I allowed to plug my Twitch channel?
I would think.
Yeah, guys, if you want to see more any percent glitchless runs of this game, and then when I get a time I'm happy with, I'll be doing other categories. But yeah, when you get if you want to see more of this game, and if you thought I was decently fun, follow my channel. There is a link going around in the chat right now. Come by for runs of this game. I typically run do a few runs every weeknight that I can. I work and have school, but I always stream at least 3 or 4 times a week. But guys, this was a lot of fun. Big shout out to Trev Person. Thank you for taking the time to come out here and
yeah, I definitely put a lot of effort into coming out and sitting here at home in my pajamas. Pretty good.
Yeah, I know. Big effort, I know.
All the way out for this one, dude.
For real though, I do appreciate it.
No problem.
I hope that we provided good commentary. I hope that people felt like they understood what was going on with the run. If you do have any questions with it, feel free to reach out at any time. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have, whether it be about, and there's my follow alert. I don't know why it's going. I don't have that, like, it's just playing on my computer, but it's not like I don't have that set. to be streamed right now. That's so weird. But anyway, yeah, if you have any questions about the run, whether it's you just want to understand or you you know, just want to learn to do it yourself, feel free to reach out at any time. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So I feel like this is a really, really fun run. It's a very fun category because you get to see things that you don't get to... You get to see things that you don't get to see in the glitched categories. Like half of the strats in Great Bay Temple, which are really cool, you just don't get to see in glitched runs. Heck, glitched any percent goes right from the very first room to the Georg fight. So so yeah, Trev, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I covered all the things I want to cover in the run. Congrats on the run. It was really good. Want to say that?